riddled with doubt. Had nowhere to go. Everything's moving so slow. The time's moving too fast. I hope this feeling don't last. Well, I've been away from myself too long. My body is aching from all my wrongs. And now that I know I'm not that strong, I'll keep slipping on to you. I'll keep slipping until my time is through. I'll keep slipping on to you, yeah, on to you. Well, I've been away from myself too long. My body is aching from all my wrongs. And now that I know I'm not that strong, I'll keep slipping on to you. I'll keep slipping until my time is through. I'll keep slipping on to you, yeah, on to you. I was down and out, so riddled with doubt.
I am the devil. I am the Lord Satan from the netherworld, ruler of the damned and eternal king of hell. Even I, the master of deceit, can only stomach so much bullshit from the mainstream media and indie grifters. That's why I tune in to Morning Extra with Uncle Warren, because he eliminates my competition, and also because I know I'm gonna see that motherfucker soon.
Deo, Deo.
Baby's got a booger and a shooter and that shit is won't go down. Baby's got a booger and a shooter and that shit is won't go down. Corrosion to her thighs, erosion of her pride. Baby's got a shooter, baby's got corrosion now, corrosion now. Baby's got it.
Greetings and salutations from the planet Earth. This is Uncle Warren here, and this is Morning Extra. We're doing it on a hump day today. We couldn't do it yesterday for reasons. First name Nunya, last name Business. No, I have a few technical issues and some other stuff priority stuff I had to finish up. So I said, fuck it. We're going to do it Wednesday. We're going to do it on the hump day. The hump day dance is your chance to do the hump. Bump, bump. Do me, baby. I do the hump day hump. Come on, do the hump day hump. I put in the chat Samoans because that's my favorite part of that song when he goes Samoans do the hump day hump. Because it's just like pick. Hey, Samoans. Okay, we'll throw that into the mix. Anyway, if you're not a Digital Underground fan, you should become one soon because that's some good shit. Just what does he say? Just something in the biscuits. Just grab them in the biscuits. Again, just a little friendly reminder for those out there in Rockfin land. If you watch this show on the regular, and you're peeved about having to watch this show with premium, don't worry, you won't have to watch this anymore on Rockfin. Come July 1st, we're going to be off. We're going to stop streaming on Rockfin. The shows will still be there, the old shows, the archives, but it's just too much. And to get people to pay, to force somebody to pay for this is just, no, we ain't doing that. Rumble right now is silent, but I'm sure we got our lurkers in the midst. Good morning to y'all over there and on Facebook too. Commissary Kate, what's up? Good morning, dear. I hope you're doing well. You got put some coffee. I got you coffee. I hope it's very delicious. CBC voter, good to see you. I heart music too, right? I tell you, man, when I was a rock DJ back in the day, it paid shit, but I tell you, that was still probably the best job I ever had. Enjoyed it. And of course, now my throat's going to clog up with phlegm and all that good stuff. Captain Peon. He once got busy in a Burger King bathroom. I'm sick with this. I'll eat up all your candy and your licorice. You know, we could do Humpty Hump lyrics all day if that's what you want. We can do that. We can rebuild them. We have the technology. Willie Bragg in the house. MAGA versus MAGA. Let them fight. Live at the Civic Center. MAGA versus MAGA. I tell you, we have a poll about a possible civil war in the United States coming up. I tell you, if there's going to be a civil war, it's going to be MAGA versus MAGA. I think Willie is spot on there, and I think that's what's going to happen. Miguel 5000 computer, quantum computer, online, wreaking havoc day and night the way nature intended. We got Max Sarjay. What's up, Max? Good to see you, my friend. And of course, Chuck's Intergalactic UFO Show, Intergalactic. No two people will do it the same. You got it down when you appear to be in pain. Where did I rock, DJ? I was at the classic rock station Mix 106 in Stark, Vegas. That would be Starkville, Mississippi. Blasting at 50,000 watts. A blowtorch. Not 100,000, although we did have some 100-watt blowtorches that could reach across states. But I tell you, it was good times playing the old tunes. And my music director, Jim Scott, good man, good friend of mine. And he would, as the kids say, let us cook as DJs, right? So what he would do, instead of having a set thing already, it's like these are the songs you have to play for us. He would have this book, right? And basically, you could go in there and you could see, where the songs that were, he would separate the songs into day parts, right? Songs that you could play in the daytime, some of the more spicy ones, at night, right? So that helped out a lot. And if you could go down the list, you could pick a song if it hadn't been played within like the last couple of days or something like that. You could sign your name right next to it or print your initials, whatever. That lets the next DJ come in know that it's already been played, and so you got to choose your set list, and it wasn't like a corporate type thing, right? Because I started off at a top 40 station, and they basically told you got to play this. But at the rock station, they let the DJs do their own cooking, and it was amazing, right? And I'm always like, when I did the morning show, I'd probably blast tunes that probably should have been played late at night, but that's totally fine. Captain Peon was a DJ too, up there in West Point, Mississippi. That was the best thing about DJing on WROB 1450 AM. Total freedom. It was, Kate. I tell you. Those, they talk about the salad days. Those were the salad days for sure. Totally enjoyed that, and I was, I'm toying around with the idea of trying to break copyright laws. But I can't do it on YouTube because it'd be an instant thing. But I was thinking about doing maybe like a Friday night, 1 hour rock show, put some tunes together. And you guys can get in the chat and make requests, but you have to be on Rumble. If you're on YouTube, we can't do it because they'll probably shut that shit down because you know how that goes. But we're still toying with the idea, so we'll see how that goes. But I think that'd be fun. Also, I've talked to Willie, and we're going to set up sometime where we're going to have a music night, pretty much where. Is this right? Okay, good. Where we talk about music, maybe get some other people's perspectives. Kate, you're welcome to come on too if you want to and talk about your music perspectives, that sort of thing. Willie's more like an 80s kind of a new wave kind of cat with a lot of punk in there too. And I'm more of like in the classic rock vein, but I like hearing about other music as well too. Rock it over at Rumble in the Rumble. Yeah, no. I'm going to call the show Rumble Rock and Roll Radio on Rumble, because alliteration is where it's at. All right. So we're on today. Let me see if there's any other announcements. Oh, we've got a new sponsor, but we will be unveiling our sponsor on Friday in our total sellout package here at Morning Extra. We're getting all the details finalized to where I can begin my road to sellout, just like some other people in this space. So, but surprise, we'll reveal them on Friday. So, should be interesting. Bring in a couple of bucks so I can, take a couple nights off on the street corner, have some fun to myself. All right, folks, we have a huge show. This is probably going to go till about 1 p.m. Central Time. Do the math for the others things because this is a long bit. We got, and I still could have put more stories in here, but it's we're not doing the 10 Commandments movie where it's like 4 or 5 hours long, or for the political matrix where they consider a 3-hour show short. I love Marcus and Teal over there at Political Matrix. And every time, the last 2 times I've been on there, we did 5-hour shows. So anytime Marcus asks me if I want to come on there, I always have to block out a pretty good amount of time, so we can do that. Kate says, I'm totally Canadian indie, especially Vancouver Island and the Yukon. Sweet. We should have a music summit, as it were, right? Take their blue or the red bill. Nice. Kate, are you a fan of Gordon Lightfoot? Do you like Gordon Lightfoot? I'm a big fan of the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. I mean, not the actual event that happened. Of course, I'm not into people drowning. I'm talking about the song, but the song is very good, and it's very sad too, but it's very well put together. Sundown, you better take care if I find you've been creeping round my back stairs. Remember that? If you could read my mind, love, what a tale my thoughts could tell. I want to tour with Gordon Lightfoot, but I don't have time. I got to give you the news. If we can do this. There we go. So Israeli official says war with Iran is premised on the idea of the U.S. entering, also known as duh. We probably know that already, but, here it is. An Israeli official has told CNN that Israel's assault on Iran is premised on the idea that the U.S. will eventually join. Now that they've got the right stupid person in office, they could probably make those dreams come true. The whole operation is premised on the fact that the U.S. will join at some point, the official said. 2 other Israeli officials told the news outlet that Israel is waiting to learn whether Trumpy will help in attacks on Iran. Israel specifically wants the U.S. to attack Iran's Fordow nuclear site, which is buried deep underground and would require U.S.-made bunker-busting bombs, say that 10 times, that Israel doesn't have to inflict any significant damage. But they're going to do it anyway because, they never met a civilian they didn't like bombing. British Columbia indie is surf rock. Oh, nice. I love some surf rock. There's a great band called, if you like that kind of music, that kind of surfer music, check out Man or Astro Man. And you're like, well, I've never heard of them. If you've ever heard the Space Ghost Coast to Coast theme song, then you've heard Man or Astro Man. But let's get back to the news. There have been signs that Trumpy is prepared to launch attacks on Iran, and he has been threatening Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and has been talking like the U.S. is already directly involved, which, of course, they always are. We now have complete and total control over the skies over Iran, the president said on Truth Social. Take that with a grain of salt. The Israeli official speaking to CNN said that Israeli Prime Minister Fuckhead McGee is hoping Trump reaches the decision to bomb Iran by himself without feeling like he's being pressured by Israel, which is kind of funny because the Israeli hand is up his ass, making him talk. If the U.S. does start attacking Iran, the Iranian military is prepared to start hitting U.S. bases, which could lead to heavy U.S. casualties. And we're going to have a poll coming up on whether people actually want this shit here in America or not. The U.S. has supported the attack on Iran by providing Israel with weapons and intelligence and by intercepting Iranian missiles and drones. Trump held a meeting with his top national security officials on Tuesday to discuss the situation, but so far there's been no word about the U.S.'s next move. So this is from antiwar.com, and they got a new little thing here. They're making their news things fancy there. That's kind of nice. So good on them. Make sure you're checking them out too. They aggregate really good information from all kinds of sources. Some are mainstream media, but we're all smart people. I think we can pick through the propaganda when we see it and find the actual nuggets of gold. Because a broken clock kind of situation, right? Meanwhile, the State Department pushes peace narrative as Trump threatens Iran. This is the same State Department run by Aquaman. So he's like, what, peace? I'm not doing peace. I'm not going to do it. In a packed room at the first State Department press briefing since Israel launched airstrikes on Iran on Friday, spokesperson Tammy Bruce. Tammy! Hey, girl. Hey, girl. Old Tammy. Tammy dodged far more questions than she answered, referring reporters to the Trump administration's central messaging depot, the White House. More specifically, Donald Trump's Truth Social account. That account, since Monday, has only conveyed threats to Iran. First, Trumpy told Tehran's 14 million residents to evacuate the capital, causing waves of panic and traffic jams across the city. Then he suggested he could kill Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei, but he won't for the time being, he said. And as night fell on Iran after the fifth day of Israeli airstrikes, he demanded unconditional surrender from the Islamic Republic, to which they replied, eat all the dicks. The U.S. president made the post while attending the first day of the G7 summit in Canada. I bet he was welcomed up there. He then abruptly left 24 hours earlier than his schedule was due to wrap up, even skipping a scheduled meeting with Ukrainian president and Sesame Street puppet Voldemort Zelensky. He was heading back to the White House for something much bigger, giggity, than a ceasefire deal between Iran and Israel, he told reporters Monday night. The Israeli press had earlier suggested that the Americans would now join the war in some form or another. The New York Times reported that only the U.S. has the 30,000-pound bomb capable of taking out Iran's Fordo nuclear site, as we told you, the bunker busters. It seemed clear that the president, who ran two successful campaigns on ending America's endless wars, was about to enter a new one, and yet again in the Middle East, because of course. But the U.S. State Department begged to differ. What? What? How dare you defy the Orange King, the Orange King, the Orange Julius? Dude, wait a minute. Let me see if this is who. Okay, this Tammy. Due to the wisdom of the American people, President Trump's election to a second term has offered the world a chance to see an American leader committed to solving many of the world's existential threats with determination. Bruce told reporters on Tuesday. All he wants is a peaceful world. His activity and the nature of the actions that the United States has taken has been rooted in one thing, which is negotiations, looking for diplomatic solutions to generational problems that he won't solve diplomatically. That's been his constant posture. Ding. Meanwhile, Secretary of State Aquaman, who also currently serves as Trump's national security advisor and applies pressure to his balls whenever he's stroking himself, has traveled the world working to implement Trump's vision of peace and security, she added. The Trump administration's narrative comes across as mixed messaging. On the one hand, the department that oversees the implementation of foreign policy is boasting about a president of peace, more like P-I-E-C-E, as in we're going to blow shit to pieces, while the president is independently posting threats online to use the full might of the U.S. military against Iran. But Trump administration officials have repeatedly made it clear that the president will conduct U.S. policy with a peace through strength approach. That's like saying love through bullets, suggesting he will, in fact, make military preparations and take his rhetoric to the limit. One more time. Da-na-na. Take you to the limit. That was the Eagles song, if you didn't know that. Until he gets a result he will accept. This particular behavior also feeds into Trump's theatricality, ooh, fancy, as a longtime reality TV star and darling of the New York tabloids. He has been known to push his opponents right to the edge and make his audience wait with desperate anticipation for his next moves. Surprisingly, Trumpy has been amenable to walking his positions back, normally when they catch him in some bullshit. But the president has still kept the world in the dark about which position he will ultimately take on Iran. So, Yes, of course. So, and it turns out that behind the scenes there, Trumpy was like, we want peace, we want to do peace, we're going to do peace. And then, and then he's secretly going, hey, go ahead. Hey, Israel, go ahead. Go get him. Go get him. Go get him. Go get him. We'll back you up. Wink, 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 wink. Nudge, nudge, nudge. Fucking trash. So how does this play in the United States? What do the American people say about possible war with Iran? Well, it's not good news for the Trumpy. Majority of U.S. voters oppose military involvement in Iran-Israel war. So 60% of U.S. citizens, 60% of U.S. citizens are against military involvement in the Israeli war on Iran, with only 16% in favor and 24% undecided, according to an Economist YouGov poll published yesterday, I believe. Yes, was it 17th yesterday? Yes. Opposition spans the political spectrum with 65% of Democrats, 61% of independents, and 53% of Republicans. Boy, Republicans, they've never seen a war they didn't like, rejecting U.S. intervention. Despite this, half of the respondents still view Iran as an enemy, while 25% consider it unfriendly, and 5% say it is either an ally or friendly. To the 5%, they may be an ally or friendly, but the rest of these people, they're with their bloodlust, they're probably not so much. Among those who voted for Trump in the 2024 election, 53% say the U.S. should stay out of the war, 19% support involvement, and 28% remain unsure. These are some big unsure numbers here, right? You're looking at 20, 28, 24%. Trump has remained central to the ongoing debate over how to approach the war, with several options under consideration, including the assassination of Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, a forced regime change, and strikes on nuclear facilities using advanced bunker-busting munitions. Despite the high stakes, a recent Morning Consult poll shows that only 23% of U.S. voters could identify Iran on a map, while 25% of U.S. voters said, what's a map? Underscoring the disconnect between public opinion and the geography of the war. It was the same thing with Iraq. They didn't know where fucking Iraq was. A March poll conducted by Gallup reflects a broader shift in U.S. public opinion on the regime, with support for Israel collapsing as sympathy for Palestinians steadily climbs amid the ongoing war. Yeah, it's funny how a blockade where you starve people to death and commit all kinds of atrocious war crimes will kind of sway public opinion eventually, maybe, probably when it's all too late. Since the start of the war on June 13th, Iran has launched waves of ballistic missiles at Israeli cities and infrastructure in response to Tel Aviv's surprise attacks that killed senior commanders, scientists, and civilians. Suck my dick told ABC News on June 16th that assassinating Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei is not going to escalate the conflict. It's going to end the conflict. No, you're probably going to create a martyr. See, that's how that works. These people, when you kill their leaders, they tend to lionize them and martyr them and want to fight more to kill you. Delicious. He accused Iran of fueling decades of violence and cited the Aramco oil field bombings as an example. Netanyahu described the confrontation as a battle of good versus evil. He might want to flip that around. Warned that threats against Tel Aviv could one day reach New York. That's right. What was that Bush said? You don't want the evidence to come in the form of a mushroom cloud. That's kind of the same vibe there. And thanked Trumpy for his support. Axios reported the following day that Israeli officials are increasingly debating regime change in Iran, although not an official war objective. Army officers confirmed that growing internal discussions were underway regarding the removal of the Iranian government. The report said Trumpy rejected an Israeli plan to assassinate Khamenei, but remains open to some gigantic action. It also noted that he left the G7 meeting early, and we told you about that, and warned residents of Tehran to evacuate. fueling speculation of a U.S. strike later denied by the White House. Because that's what they do. They say shit and then they deny it later, and they forget that we have recordings that kind of do that thing. Amid these developments, Iran's ambassador to the UN, Ali Bahraini, warned that Tehran will respond seriously and strongly without restraint if the U.S. directly joins the war. How that is if the U.S. starts bombing Tehran or puts boots on the ground, maybe. If we confirm America's direct involvement in the attacks against us, we will respond, Bahraini said in Geneva, adding that Tehran already views Washington as complicit in Israeli actions, as does the rest of the world. His remarks come as Israeli media reported that the U.S. is expected to participate in any potential strike on Iran's Fordow nuclear facility, as we said. CBS and Axios said Trump is weighing direct involvement, but has not yet made a final decision. He hasn't said whether you're fired. You're fired. Just a brief announcement here as the U.S. to shut embassy in Jerusalem from today through Friday. I think they have to fix the ice cream machine, and usually that just shuts things down in the summertime. The U.S. embassy in Jerusalem will be shut today through Friday due to the security situation in the region and to comply with Israeli guidance. According to the U.S. State Department yesterday, given the security situation and in compliance with Israel Home Front Command guidance, the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem will be closed from June 18th through Friday, June 20th. This includes the consular section in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, the State Department said on X. Although the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell inside the embassy will still be open because, come on, people, what are we, animals? Israel-Iran trade further strikes into the sixth day as Trump ramps up the rhetoric. So let's get the update on what's going on. There's some terrorists right there. Wait, is that? No, that's oh, that is in Israel. Yeah, so those are terrorists. Okay. Israel has carried out strikes across Iran while Tehran has returned fire as the foes trade attacks for a sixth day. Straight day, and the region anxiously braces for a potentially wider and ruinous conflict. Early on Wednesday, the Israeli military said new waves of missiles had been launched from Iran. Israeli media outlets reported that the latest salvos triggered sirens across the entire country, including Tel Aviv, area where explosions and fires were reported. Explosions were also reported in the early hours in Tehran and Karaj, a city west of the capital. The continued aerial exchanges come as Trump ramped up his rhetoric and pressure on Iran. In one post on his Truth Social platform, he said, we now have complete total control of the skies of Iran. Told you about that. Without clarifying who the we was. And when they said, who's we, are you speaking French? And Trump said, what's French? Israel made the claim about controlling Iranian skies in recent days without providing evidence. Classic. They say a lot of shit, and they say, okay, where's the evidence? And the hands go up and they say, oopsie sauce, my bad dog. Iran still has air defense systems operating. Its army said on Tuesday that it had tracked and intercepted 28 hostile aircraft in 24 hours. It said one of them was a spy drone trying to gain intelligence on sensitive sites. Trump also made a thinly veiled threat directed at Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei. As we told you, we were talking about they're not going to kill him for now. In another post, he wrote on conditional surrender. Concerns that the U.S. could spark a wider regional war should it enter direct conflict with Iran continued to build throughout the day as Trump met with his national security team, which is a box of puppies that he likes to lay on the floor and have them roam all over him in a puppy pylon. Khamenei, in his first statement since Trump's threat, said in the name of the noble Haidar, the battle begins. Haidar is an alternative name for Imam Ali, the fourth Muslim caliph and revered figure in Shia Islam. And we told you here, Trump struck an ominous roll, calling for the immediate evacuation of Tehran. Hours later, in comments to reporters on Air Force One after his early departure from the Group of Seven, the G7 summit, he said he was looking for a real end. Trump saying he's looking for a real end, that could mean many things, and not just a ceasefire in the conflict. So the Israeli military reported Tuesday they'd carried out several extensive strikes on what it said were missile sites and other military targets in western Iran, striking dozens of missile and drone facilities. Footage verified by Al Jazeera showed large plumes of smoke rising from several areas in Iran's Isfahan province throughout the day and into the evening. The official Iranian news agency IRNA reported that continuous and intense explosions were being heard in densely populated neighborhoods of Tehran. Because, see, that's what Israel does. They attack civilians. And when you try to attack weaponry in Israel, all of it is in civilian neighborhoods. That's where they put their Iron Dome stuff, because they're a bunch of fucking cowards. And use their own people as human shields. Literally. Iranian media also reported that loud explosions were heard in the northwestern city of Tabriz, not to be confused with Fabriz, which, you know, takes the stank out of your couch. Home to an Air Force base that Israel has repeatedly targeted since it launched a surprise assault on Iran's military and nuclear facilities last Friday. There's some things going on there. This is smoke rises after an Israeli airstrike in central Tehran. This is from yesterday. 3 people were killed and 4 injured in strikes on the central city of Kashan, Iran's state-run Noor news agency reported. A residential building was struck in Tehran and 3 people were rescued from the rubble, the report said. IRNA said that 8 missiles were launched at Israel in Iran's latest salvo. Israel's military confirmed that Iran had fired more missiles, saying that most had been intercepted without providing details. As usual. Explosions were heard over Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, among other areas. Images showed plumes of dark smoke rising from the site of a strike in Herzliya as emergency services were deployed at the scene. Israel's National Emergency Service said that 10 people were injured while running to shelters after air raid sirens sounded in Tel Aviv, which I find funny that you're starting to see videos of people, the Zion Nazis over there in Tel Aviv, saying, "Look at this building! Look what they did! They blew up this building. There's no." I don't know. Maybe Hamas was in there. You know, I'm just saying. Al Jazeera's Noor Oda, reporting from Imam Jordan, because Al Jazeera is banned from Israel, said that the Israeli military censor has forbidden the publication of images and information about Herzliya, classifying it as sensitive. We still on? Okay, cool. That usually means that it's either a military intelligence or strategic asset or site that the Israeli military censor does not want to disclose, Oda said. She said that the Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps said in a recent statement that it attacked the intelligence buildings in Herzliya, the Mossad, and the Israeli Amman military intelligence, so that claim remains unanswered from the Israeli side. Iran's Ministry of Defense said later on Tuesday that it used a new undetectable missile in striking an Israeli intelligence facility, claiming the attack penetrated multiple layers of air defenses. So amid the strikes, the Israeli military claimed that it had assassinated another senior Iranian military official. General Ali Shadmani was killed in a strike by the Israeli Air Force in central Tehran through the use of precise intelligence, the Israeli military said, describing him as Iran's wartime chief of staff, a senior-most military official, and the closest military advisor to Khomeini. And I've heard this said, too, like, if they can do these precise strikes and kill these people without killing anybody else, why can't they, if they were going to do that in Gaza looking for Hamas, why couldn't they do that? Because they want to wipe Hamas and Gaza off the map and move their shitty people in there. And, yeah, you know, because, you know, chosen people. Shadmani was reportedly appointed to his new post after Israel assassinated the former commander of the Iranian army's Qatam al-Anbiya central headquarters, Gholam Ali Rashid, on Friday. Rashid's reported killing came days after Israel assassinated several of Iran's top generals as well as nuclear scientists. In a statement agreed to at the G-Summit before Trump's departure, the 7 leaders described Iran as the principal source of regional instability and terror, misspelling Israel totally wrong. It's like they got the I part right, They just fucked up the rest of it. Adding that Israel has a right to defend itself. There it is. Although Israel has begun the conflict with its attacks on right. They started it. Israel has a right to fuck you up so they can defend themselves. How dare you not know this? Peace, Dove. Good morning. I hope you're doing well. Speaking of reporters, on Tuesday at the summit, French President Emmanuel Macron, however, said that he was against military action against Iran that could lead to regime change and potential chaos. He called for a ceasefire and a return to nuclear negotiations. An official from Yemen's Houthis, oh yeah, the Houthis, they're still in this, Mohammed al-Bukhari, told Al Jazeera that the group would come to the aid of any Arab or Muslim nation under attack. We will intervene to support Tehran against Zionist aggressions, as we supported our brothers in Gaza, he said. Neither Hamas nor Hezbollah, who have taken heavy blows in the wars with Israel, have intervened so far. So only one H of the Triple H is down. But Hamas is like, what are we going to do? Meanwhile, Jordan's King Abdullah II, in an address to the European Parliament on Tuesday, slammed Israel's attacks on Iran. Oh, but you'll shoot down Iranian missiles, won't you, motherfucker? With Israel's expansion of its offensive to include Iran, there's no telling where the boundaries of this battleground will end, and that is a threat to people everywhere, Abdullah said. Ultimately, this conflict must end. If the world fails to act decisively, it will be complicit in Israeli crimes. Well, you know, let some of those missiles fly through. You might be ending this sooner than you expect. Turkish President Erdogan spoke with Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani on Tuesday. Erdogan said he will continue his efforts to end the spiral of violence, and that Netanyahu has shown once again that he is the biggest threat to the security of the region, according to his office. Russia's foreign ministry denounced Israel's continued attacks on Iran as illegal, right? It's like watching somebody just stealing shit in your store, and you're like, dude, you're stealing. You're like, what do you care? There's nothing you can do about it. I'm protected. So one of the places that Iran has targeted in Israel is the Weizmann Institute, as it was targeted by Iran as nuclear military links. Before, after. A recent Iranian missile strike has inflicted extensive damage on the Weizmann Institute of Science in central Israel, a facility long considered a cornerstone of the country's scientific and military-industrial infrastructure, Al Mayadeen reported. The news agency cites The Marker, a daily business newspaper published by the Israeli Haaretz Group, as reporting that several buildings within the institute sustained direct hits, with one key laboratory complex entirely destroyed by fire. Sizzle. So if you want to see it, here it is. Bouquet boom. Oh my. Oh my. That's just scandalous. Yeah. So K-boom on your radio. Oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Look at all that violence. That's some crazy shit. All right, you've seen enough. Missile caused heavy damage to the Institute's grounds, and several buildings on the campus were directly hit. One of them, which was used for research laboratories in the fields of biology, biochemistry, and life sciences, caught fire, The Marker reported. Wesley, hello, good sir. Yeah, I know, that'll leave a mark. Oh, ouchies. Ouchies. The report noted that the attack was not random, adding that it targeted an institution that many consider one of the most prominent symbols of Israel's scientific and technological superiority, in an attempt to illustrate that even this qualitative advantage is not immune. So this is from Al Mayadeen English. Iran struck the Weizmann Institute of Science in Rehovot, southeast of Tel Aviv, whose media framed the operation as direct payback for the assassination of its nuclear scientists. And this is CCTV footage and satellite images later confirmed that the missile caused visible structural damage. The Institute engages in basic research, but it has an indirect and ongoing contribution to security-related fields, including physics, biotechnology, and artificial intelligence, The Marker stated. According to Al Mayadeen, the Weizmann Institute is described by Israeli media as the scientific and military brain of Israel, and has played a pivotal role in the research and development of technologies underpinning airstrike coordination systems, drone warfare capabilities, and battlefield medical technology. This is from Max Blumenthal over on the tweeters. The FBI investigated Israel's Weizmann Institute for stealing nuclear secrets from the U.S. and called it an academic organization which conducts research in high technology issue areas, including theoretical aspects of nuclear and conventional weapons development. And remember, kids, Israel has 90 nuclear missiles. Nuclear weapons. Nuclear vessels, as they said in Star Trek 4. Israeli professor Aaron Siegel, whose AI lab was also directly hit, noted that millions of dollars worth of equipment was damaged beyond recovery, sad face, due to water and structural damage, Al Mayadeen reported. I almost said AI Mayadeen. It says Siegel's lab had reportedly contributed to algorithmic systems used in battlefield decision-making and real-time surveillance, tools that have aided the Israeli entity's strikes in Gaza and elsewhere. According to Euronews, the Weizmann Institute is one of the pillars of technological innovation in Israel, directly contributing to the development of complex military systems, including AI for data analysis and combat guidance, drone technologies and autonomous systems, advanced electronic tracking and jamming tools, and alternative GPS navigation systems. It said the Institute also develops encryption for military codes and communication in hostile environments and conducts research in nuclear energy applications, as well as field treatments for injured soldiers. There's the thing there. These activities, Euronews noted, partly explain why the Institute is considered a strategic target for Tehran, especially after recent Israeli strikes on military facilities and prominent Iranian scientists. The report noted that the Institute is funded by the Israeli government in addition to significant support from international organizations, United States. Meanwhile, the Anadolu News Agency, that's out of Turkey, reported on Tuesday that allegations have come to fore that the Weizmann Institute of Science is linked to nuclear research and military projects. Founded in 1934, the Weizmann Institute of Science is named for Chaim Weizmann. Is that how you say it? Is it Chaim? I think it's Chaim. I'm not saying shame. I'm not going to go redneck on that. One of the leading figures of the Zionist movement, who was also the founder of the Institute of Israel and Israel's first president, the report noted. So any of my Jewish friends want to correct me. I think it's Chaim. The Weizmann Institute plays a major role in the Zionist regime's development of weapons and terror and mass destruction. It bragged openly about working with the regime's top arms companies during the genocide. That's Weizmann Institute of Science and Elbit Systems collaboration. From the cradle, top Israeli science hub, the MIT of Israel, damaged an Iranian missile barrage. The Weizmann Institute of Science, often described as Israel's equivalent MIT, sustained damage in the thing. New York Times reports that the Weizmann Institute's Israel Center for Development of Weapons of Genocide and Terror sustained severe damage. Described by the Israeli press as the country's technological backbone, a strategic base, Anadolu said. The institute is known for its research in fundamental sciences such as physics, chemistry, and biology. Israel's official stance is to deny processing nuclear weapons capabilities, the report said, the worst kept secret on the planet. In the work of many organizations such as the U.S.-based Wisconsin Project on Nuclear Arms Control and the Institute for Middle East Policy Studies, the Weizmann Institute is associated with the Nuclear Research Center located near Dimona in the Negev Desert, Anadolu said. It further noted that Israeli scientist Ernst David Bergman is recognized as the father of Israel's nuclear program. In a 2014 joint study by the University of Cincinnati in the U.S. and Tel Aviv University in Israel, Bergman's influence on Israel's policies was evaluated as a mentor to the Institute's fundamental research. According to the study, Bergman, who was the first chairman of the Israel Atomic Energy Commission back in 1952, Why would Israel have an... okay, for me. All right, never mind. Emphasize the importance of training Israeli scientists with a background in nuclear physics as the foundation for Israel's steps towards developing nuclear weapons. Bergman, who was also one of the founders of the Nuclear Research Center in Dimona, utilized the research infrastructure and human resources at the Weizmann Institute to launch and develop the country's nuclear program, the report noted. Bergman became interested in this issue after the U.S. government of the time published the Smith Report, or Smythe, on atomic bombs, and in this context, he reached an agreement with former President Weizmann to send Institute personnel to France and Sweden to receive training in nuclear chemistry, Anadolu said. And here comes AIPAC. Thanks to the intensive efforts of AIPAC in 1994, the report added, the U.S. administration approved the sale of a total of 9 supercomputers at the time that they were Atari Atari 800s, I believe. No, I'm just kidding. They were Atari 400s. The U.S. administration approved the sale of a total of 9 supercomputers to industries related to nuclear and missile programs, including Technion University and the Hebrew University of Jerusalem in Israel, as well as the Weizmann Institute. According to information on the Weizmann Institute's official website, the report continued, the institution is Israel's most important scientific research facility. And here's more destruction there. The Institute, the report said, plays an important role in advanced weapons and military technology research and development. Its strategic value lies in its cutting-edge military research and development work. The Weizmann Institute of Science, the report continued, collaborates with leading companies such as the Israeli Army and the Israeli-based defense company Elbit Systems, as we said, on advanced technology development. It also contributes to the development of Israel's drone technology, AI, cybersecurity, and genocide enhancement. So there you go. So Iran is, we told you, I think we told you last week that Iran got a hold of some documents from Israel specifically about their nuclear program. And they said they're going to do something with it. And well, oopsie sauce, here we are. Steve Wolfbrand in the house. What's going on? Peace, Dub. Did I say hello to you earlier? If I didn't, I meant to. I know, y'all talk about music and I'm just reading the news. That's fine. You know, as long as you're here, I don't care. So all this is really fucking with their oil, too, as Israeli missile strikes force closure of Israel's largest oil refinery. Uh-oh. The find out portion of the fuck around. Israel's largest oil refinery was forced to shut down on June 16th after an Iranian missile strike caused extensive damage to the Bazan Group's Haifa complex, killing 3 workers and disabling its main power station. Israel's Calculist reported. I guess that's some sort of paper. As a result of the damage in the Bazan Group complex, the power plant responsible for generating part of the steam and electricity used by the group's facilities was significantly damaged. Additional damage was also sustained. Barzan Group announced for the first time, for the time being, all operations at the refinery and its subsidiaries in Haifa have been shut down. The company is working in coordination with the Israel Electric Corporation, not to be confused with the electric company that was on PBS. The Electric Company! The Electric Company! That's where Morgan Freeman was on there, too. Which mobilized immediately to restore a regular electricity supply to the complex as soon as possible, the company added. The Bazan complex supplies nearly 60% of Israel's diesel and close to half of its gasoline. Trading in Bazan Group shares was suspended for several hours on Monday, with the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange citing a lack of clarity as the reason for the halt. It was later confirmed that the suspension followed the Iranian missile strike on the company's Haifa complex. While Bazan's primary activity is oil refining, it also manufactures raw materials for the plastics and chemical sectors. And there's some little, get out your marshmallows and toast them over that. A day earlier, on June 15th, Iranian missile and drone strikes caused localized damage to pipelines within the complex's downstream facilities, resulting in partial shutdowns. Most operations, however, remained functional at the time. Since the sudden Israeli attack on Iran, just a note here, whenever Iran says they're going to attack Israel, they let their people know in advance. Israel, not so much. Iran lets Israel know that they're going to attack, which they should probably stop doing that because Israel's not going to play by the rules. You were talking about how some music from the 70s was pointing to what you're reading today. Yeah. It's funny. What is it that's happened before? It'll happen again. Everything's it's a loop. It's a cycle. Since the sudden Israeli attack on Iran and the subsequent exchanges of fire, both sides have sought to cripple each other's infrastructure in an effort to undermine economic stability and disrupt vital supply chains. As Iranian missiles struck Israeli energy infrastructure in Tel Aviv, escalated its bombing campaign on civilian sites across Iran. Diplomatic statements from both sides revealed growing international concern over the rapid escalation of the war. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian told Parliament that Tehran is not seeking nuclear weapons and that the country must stand strong against this genocidal criminal aggression. Of course, Tehran said they're not seeking nuclear weapons, and so did our military intelligence, or our intelligence community said that the same thing, that they're not doing it. But that's you can't. They want war. Don't fuck with don't fuck with their dreams. Israel's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi referred to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as a war criminal, accusing him of deliberately provoking war to sabotage efforts toward a diplomatic breakthrough between Tehran and Washington. Asked whether he would consider targeting Iran's supreme leader, Netanyahu said, "It's not going to escalate the conflict. It'll end the conflict. We told you that, and it's probably going to just make it worse." So Trump urged Tehran to engage in de-escalation talks with Israel before it's too late, even though they were the ones who started it. That's like somebody coming up to you and hitting you in the face, and your mom coming to say, "Okay, you guys make up." All right. No, I want to punch that motherfucker back. That's how that works. Nobody gets free licks. Okay. Back in Gaza, don't forget, don't worry. If you're worried about Israel neglecting, murdering, and genociding people in Gaza, come on, man. They can multitask. Israeli forces kill, I think it's up to 70 now, Palestinians in Gaza, aid massacre. This is from, again, from antiwar.com, Dave DeCamp. Israeli tank fire killed at least 59 Palestinians in Khan Yunis, southern Gaza, as they were trying to get food from aid trucks. Where they were wearing their Hamas shirts and got killed, apparently. Reuters reported on Tuesday, marking the deadliest aid massacre since the U.S. and Israeli-backed Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, GHF, began operating in Gaza at the end of May, which is not shocking. While many Palestinians have been killed near GHF sites, the massacre in Khan Yunis did not appear to be related to the GHF, as a crowd that was fired on was waiting for aid trucks to pass through, according to witnesses speaking to Reuters. Medics said another 221 people were injured in the massacre, and Gaza's health ministry published photos of victims being treated at the Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis. Footage from social media shows dozens of bodies strewn along the streets in Khan Yunis, and there's some of the stuff there. All of a sudden, they let us move forward and made everyone gather, and then shells started falling, tank shells. A survivor of the attack told Reuters. No one is looking at these people with mercy. The people are dying, and they're being torn apart to get food for their children. Look at these people. All these people are torn to get flour to feed their children. The AP reported that witnesses said Israeli forces began firing on the crowd after an airstrike hit a nearby home. The Israeli military admitted it fired on the crowd, acknowledged there were several casualties, and claimed that it would investigate the massacre. Wait a minute, who said that? The Israeli military said they'd investigate it? All right, here we go. Cops investigating cops. According to Al Jazeera, a total of 89 Palestinians were killed across Gaza on Tuesday as Israeli airstrikes and artillery shelling continued to pound the strip. The daily U.S.-backed massacres continue in Gaza as much of the world's attention is on the Israel-Iran war. Like I said, Israel is not, they're not going to let up on Gaza. Come on. So Gaza's last functioning hospital out of emergency supplies lacks blood supply. The last major functioning medical facility in Gaza, Nasser Hospital, has run out of emergency medical care supplies and is losing patients because of the lack of donated blood units, according to a senior government official. Nasser Hospital, quote, is still in a red area and has no supplies for emergency medical care. Norwegian physician Dr. Mads Gilbert, citing Dr. Yusuf Abu al-Rish, Deputy Minister of Health in Gaza, said in a statement to the media on Tuesday. Despite this, the hospital in Khan Yunis continues to receive patients coming in from the various massacres of Palestinians by Israeli forces taking place at aid distribution points. Dr. Gilbert relayed that Dr. Abu al-Rish told him that since October 7, 2023, the health ministry has used 150,000 units of blood, which means approximately 250 units of blood daily. Now, blood is lacking because of the starvation of the population. They can't ask people to donate blood because of nutritional anemia and the fact that many have already donated units, he stated. They're now losing patients because of a lack of full blood, which has been a lifeline during the previous month in hypovolemic bleeding patients, Dr. Gilbert added. Even though Nasser Hospital has expanded the number of beds in the ICU from 12 to 51 and in the general wards to 600, Dr. Gilbert said the hospital is unable to receive more cases now because they cannot provide life-saving first aid or damage control or life-saving surgery. There's a massive problem of supplies and medical equipment and medical consumables, he said. Dr. Abu al-Rish, he noted, said the food distribution points were being used as bait for the starving population, with Israel killing and maiming them. Also on Tuesday, Dr. Mark Bruner, a U.S. physician, said at a press conference that every time we know that there's a so-called food distribution, we know that there's going to be annihilation. He noted that the first couple of days we were seeing a lot of isolated injuries, head or chest or abdomen, but today it's reported that tanks have been used at the food distribution centers. This is just blatant just murder of these people. And there's still assholes out there who support this regime. This makes sense because we're seeing multi-trauma, we're seeing head, neck, chest, abdomen, extremities, many, many deaths, and it doesn't have to be this way, Dr. Bruner added. I guess that's him right there. He described what he has been seeing in Gaza as absolutely catastrophic, abnormal, out of this world pain and suffering and injury to women and children. I don't see any evidence of warriors. I see malnourished fathers and daughters. I see pregnant women with their babies ripped from their womb by shrapnel, the physician added. Another medical professional volunteering in Gaza, Dr. Saeed Rahman, pointed out that Nasser Hospital was the only functioning hospital in all of Gaza for 2 million plus people. Right? Let me put this into perspective. When I was growing up, the state of Mississippi had around 2 million people in it, right? And if you only have one hospital in a state, yeah, you kind of see where that is. What we're seeing here is abnormal. We're seeing an absolute annihilation and execution of humanity from children, from pregnant women, from women nursing, and the execution of human beings is not the only problem, he stated. The physician said that there was absolute starvation in the besieged enclave, not food, whatever they call it. They call it like food deprived. I don't know what it is, food deprived or whatever. It's starving. With people losing 15 to 20 kilograms in the past month. That's a lot of weight. I mean, I don't even know the metric system that well. And that sounds pretty fucking heavy. This is a man-made issue. It can be reversed immediately if the world decides to wake up, Dr. Rahman stressed. So please wake up, do something, talk to your politicians, talk to your friends, talk to your families. We need this to stop immediately, he pleaded. The Ministry of Health in Gaza and sources at Nasser Medical Complex reported that at least 50 Palestinians were killed and hundreds injured by Israeli fire while awaiting humanitarian aid in Khan Yunis. I think that's basically going over what we just said. So, yeah, so one hospital for 2 million people. That's insane. I mean, this whole thing is insane, obviously, but you know, these doctors have no agenda. They just want to help people, and they've been reporting left on the regular about the atrocities going on in there. But nobody's believing the doctors. At least none of the Zionist fanboys and fangirls. Meanwhile, Middle East conflict sends Egypt scrambling to replace Israeli gas. We told you about Israel getting knocked, and now you're starting to see regional effects from this. Egypt has begun rolling out a full-scale emergency energy plan, scrambling to balance limited fuel supplies against surging national demand after Israel shuttered its largest offshore gas field amid the escalating Iran-Israel conflict that has deprived Cairo of critical Israel gas supplies. Yeah, it would be nice if the dollar actually crashed right now. It's only going to get worse before it gets better, so you might as well get used to the worst part. The plan announced by the Egyptian Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources just days prior and already in full force as of Tuesday includes the immediate suspension of gas deliveries to multiple industrial sectors. To stabilize the national power grid, Egypt is now turning heavily to low-quality heavy fuels like mazout, I think I probably mispronounced that, and diesel to keep electricity flowing during peak summer loads, giggity, according to Reuters. The crisis was triggered when Israel halted operations at its Leviathan and Karish fields after Iranian missile attacks. Before the shutdown, Egypt was importing nearly 1 BCF/D of Israel gas. I guess that's something per day. Volumes that had become critical for both power generation and industrial feedstock. Early on Tuesday, Israel announced that its largest oil refinery, as we told you, Bazan, had been shut down due to Iranian missile strike damage, including all of the refinery facilities at the Haifa port. The power station, we like to multiply. Are you gonna do it? Sorry, remember that song? Feel the heat burning you up, Betty or not. Some like it hot. The power station, responsible for part of the steam and electricity production used by the group's facilities, sustained significant damage alongside additional impacts, the company said in a filing to the Tel Aviv Stock Exchange, as reported by Israel media. At this stage, all refinery and subsidiary facilities have been shut down. Industrial fallout came swiftly. Fertilizer producers have now suspended operations due to feedstock shortages, while the government has rushed to secure emergency imports of up to 1 million tons of fuel oil starting in August. Yeah, the Simpsons predicted that. They sure as fuck did. Liquid natural gas tenders are also being issued. Last week, Egypt finalized a sweeping series of liquefied natural gas supply agreements with Saudi Aramco, Shell PLC, Trafigura, and several other major traders as the country struggles to shift back to a status of long-term net exporter rather than importer amid a deepening domestic supply crunch. State-owned Egyptian National Gas Holding Company, EGAS, secured as many as 290 LNG cargoes over the next 2.5 years, starting as early as next month. Financially, this is a squeeze Egypt can ill afford, with foreign reserves already strained. Soaring spot LNG prices and fuel oil premiums are threatening to blow a hole in the country's energy budget. So Egypt affected by this too. Yes, Chuck, Robert Palmer had so much talent. Might as well face it, you're addicted to love. Kill your egregories. Hello to you, good sir. I hope you're having a fantastic hump day. I hope you're playing with your camel, if you know what I'm saying. Giggity goo, giggity schmoigen. So Germany said the quiet part out loud as Germany's Merz. Israel is doing dirty work for us in Iran. Isn't that what it's all about? German Chancellor and chocolate bar enthusiast Friedrich Merz has strongly backed Israel's war on Iran and said on Tuesday that Israel was doing dirty work for the West by launching the assault. And this is the dirty work Israel is doing for all of us. We are also victims of this regime. This Mullah regime has brought death and destruction to the world. 9! Merz said. The German leader also said that Iran's nuclear program must be destroyed and suggested that the U.S. should do it since it has heavy bunker-busting bombs that the Israeli military doesn't possess. The Israeli army is obviously unable to accomplish that. It lacks the necessary weapons, but the Americans have them. 9! When Israel first launched its aggressive war against Iran on Friday, Germany's foreign minister released a statement condemning the Iranian counterattack. Wow. So it is. It's like school. It's like you get hit, and then you get hit back, and you hit back, and as soon as you hit back, the principal only sees you hitting back and goes, "Hey, I saw what you did." The same fucking shit. It's the Israeli army made the Americans have it. Okay. When Israel first launched Friday, okay, yeah, counterattack. We strongly condemn the indiscriminate Iranian attack on Israeli territory, the ministry said. I'm not doing that voice again. It kind of hurts. Germany, France, and the UK, the three European signatories to the 2015 Iran nuclear deal known as the JCPOA, worked against the chances of a diplomatic solution between the Trump administration and Tehran by joining the U.S. in introducing a resolution against Iran at the IAEA. Those assholes, the Board of Governors. The resolution claimed Iran was not fulfilling its obligations under the Non-Proliferation Treaty, even though they were, a charge based mainly on uranium traces and nuclear activity that allegedly occurred over 20 years ago. While Germany, France, and the UK have criticized Israel's genocidal war in Gaza in recent months, lip service. The three countries have all backed Israel's assault on Iran, though French President Emmanuel Macron has said regime change, which increasingly appears to be Israel's goal, would be a strategic mistake. Probably another strategic mistake is backing Israel in the first place, because Iran's only going to hold back so far, and then that's going to be it. It'd be funny if Iran actually had nukes. Mystery, what's up? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Switch away from war on people to the war on women's bodies. You like that segue? The UK votes to decriminalize abortion after prosecutions of some women. British parliamentarians have voted to decriminalize abortion in England and Wales after concerns sparked by the prosecution of women who end a pregnancy. The House of Commons approved an amendment to a broader bill on Tuesday that would prevent women from being criminally punished under an antiquated law. Currently, a woman can face criminal charges for choosing to end a pregnancy after 24 weeks or without the approval of two doctors under laws that technically still carry a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. A second here. The amendment passed 379 to 137. The House of Commons will now need to pass the crime bill, which is expected before it goes to the House of Lords, where it can be delayed but not blocked. I wonder if Jack Lord from Hawaii Five-0 comes from the House of Lords. Labor MP Tanya Antoniazzi, the Labor member of the parliament who introduced one of the amendments, said the change was needed because police have investigated more than 100 women for suspected illegal abortions over the past 5 years, including some who suffered natural miscarriages and stillbirths. This piece of legislation will only take women out of the criminal justice system because they are vulnerable and they need our help, she said. Just what public interest is this serving? This is not justice. It is cruelty, and it has got to end. Changes in the law implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic allow women to receive abortion pills through the mail and terminate their own pregnancies at home within the first 10 weeks. That has led to a handful of widely publicized cases in which women were prosecuted for illegally obtaining abortion pills and using them to end their own pregnancies after 24 weeks. In May, Nicola Packer was acquitted after taking abortion medicine when she was around 26 weeks pregnant, beyond the legal limit of 10 weeks for taking such medication at home. The 45-year-old told jurors during her trial, which came after a 4-year police investigation, that she did not realize she had been pregnant for so long. Carla Foster was jailed in 2023 for illegally obtaining abortion tablets to end her pregnancy when she was between 32 and 34 weeks pregnant. The Court of Appeal eventually suspended her sentence. So, whether you agree with abortion or not, it's apparently it's going through in the UK. I know people have very passionate opinions on both sides about it, so I'm not here to get into that debate. That is, like I said, that's a personal choice. And hopefully we can come to a point where we evolve as a society where we don't need abortion, where we can, we can have, the women can have these children without having any additional burdens or additional medical, monetary problems with it. I recently, here in the United States, I recently, probably within the last couple of years, I read somewhere that if women here had, universal health care, of the women who had abortions, 70% of them said if they had free health care, they wouldn't have had abortions. They would have had the baby. So personal responsibility, but also financial responsibility has something to do with it as well. Well, meanwhile, in Syria and Iraq, ISIS has been in control. Then they got beat back. But guess what? ISIS is back with a brand new invention, straight to the point of contention. ISIS, baby. ISIS reactivating fighters eyeing comeback in Syria and Iraq. Why? Because it's safe now. Toyota. Middle East leaders and their Western allies have been warning that Islamic State, ISIS extremists, could exploit the fall of the Assad regime to stage a comeback in Syria and neighboring Iraq, where the extremist group once imposed a reign of terror over millions. Bingo! Stephanie, you are such a sweetheart. Stephanie spoke in class today. Thank you for joining Patreon too, sweetie. I appreciate you. You are awesome sauce. I know, don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Bibi said, knock you out. That's what he told Trump. I'm going to knock you out. And where the extremist group wants. Okay. So ISIS could exploit the fall of the Assad regime to stage a comeback in Syria and neighboring Iraq, where the extremist group once imposed a reign of terror over millions. Yay! Good to see you, Pittsburgh, dude. Hope you're doing well. ISIS, I've been waiting for ISIS to make a comeback. They've been doing the casino circuit for so long. It's about time that the younger generation got to hear their music. ISIS has been attempting just that, according to many sources, including security and political officials from Syria, Iraq, the U.S., and Europe, as well as diplomats in the region. The group has started reactivating fighters in both countries, identifying targets, distributing weapons, and stepping up recruitment and propaganda efforts, the sources said. Got to have the propaganda efforts. Come on. So far, the results of these efforts appear limited. Security operatives in Syria and Iraq who have been monitoring ISIS for years say they foiled at least a dozen major plots this year. A case in point came in December, the month Syria's Bashar al-Assad was toppled. As rebels were advancing on Damascus, ISIS commanders holed up near Raqqa, former capital of their self-declared caliphate, dispatched 2 envoys to Iraq. 5 Iraqi counterterrorism officials told Reuters. The envoys carried verbal instructions to the group's followers to launch attacks, but they were captured at a checkpoint while traveling in North Iraq on December 2nd, the officials said. 11 days later, Iraqi security forces acting on information from the envoys tracked a suspected ISIS suicide bomber to a crowded restaurant in the northern town of Dakuk. Using, I hope I said that right, using a cell phone, they said. The forces shot the man dead before he could detonate an explosives belt, they said. The foiled attack confirmed Iraq's suspicions about the group, said Colonel Abdul Amir al-Bayadi of the Iraqi Army's 8th Division, which is deployed in the area. Islamic State elements have begun to reactivate after years of lying low, emboldened by the chaos in Syria. Still, the number of attacks claimed by ISIS has dropped since Assad's fall. ISIS claimed responsibility for 38 attacks in Syria in the first 5 months of 2025, putting it on track for a little over 90 claims this year, according to data from Site Intelligence Group, which monitors militants' activities online. That would be around a third of last year's claims, the data shows. In Iraq, where ISIS originated, the group claimed 4 attacks in the first 5 months in 2025 versus 61 total last year. Syria's government, led by the country's new Islamist leader, Ahmed al-Shara, did not answer questions about ISIS activities. I wonder why. Defense Minister Murhaf Abu Qasra told Reuters in January the country was developing its intelligence gathering efforts and its security services would address any threat. A U.S. defense official and a spokesman for Iraq's prime minister said ISIS remnants in Syria and Iraq have been dramatically weakened, unable to control territory since a U.S.-led coalition and its local partners drove them from their last stronghold in 2019. The Iraqi spokesman, Sabah al-Numan, credited preemptive operations by keeping the group in check. The coalition and partners hammered militant hideouts with airstrikes and raids after Assad's fall. Such operations captured or killed terrorist elements while preventing them from regrouping and carrying out operations, Newman said. Seinfeld reference. Iraq's intelligence operations have also become more precise, through drones and other technologies, he added. At its peak between 2014 and 2017, ISIS held sway over roughly a third of Syria and Iraq, where it imposed its extreme interpretation of Islamic Sharia law, gaining a reputation for shocking brutality. Those are the ones you see the videos with the heads getting cut off. That's ISIS. None of the officials who spoke with Reuters saw a danger of that happening again, but they cautioned against counting the group out, saying it has proven a resilient foe, adept at exploiting a vacuum, and especially when you have the backing of the CIA. Some local and European officials are concerned that foreign fighters might be traveling to Syria to join jihadist groups. For the first time in years, intelligence agencies tracked a small number of suspected foreign fighters coming from Europe to Syria in recent months, 2 European officials told Reuters, though they could not say whether ISIS or another group recruited them. The ISIS push comes at a delicate time for Shara as he attempts to unite a diverse country and bring former rebel groups under government control after 13 years of civil war. We don't need your civil war. Trump's surprise decision last month to lift sanctions on Syria was widely seen as a win for the Syrian leader, who once led a branch of al-Qaeda that battled ISIS for years. But some Islamist hardliners criticized Shara's efforts to woo Western governments, expressing concern he might acquiesce to U.S. demands to expel foreign fighters and normalize relations with Israel. Seizing on such divides, ISIS condemned the meeting with Trump in a recent issue of its online news publication, Al-Naba, and called on foreign fighters in Syria to join its ranks. In a May 14th meeting in Saudi Arabia, Trumpy asked Shara to help prevent an ISIS resurgence. As the U.S. begins a troop consolidation in Syria, it said would cut its roughly 2,000-strong military presence by half this year. Of course, they said they failed a dozen plots. It's all in their report. Ding, 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 ding. The U.S. drawdown has heightened concerns among allies that ISIS might find a way to free some 9,000 fighters and their family members, including foreign nationals, held at prisons and camps guarded by the U.S.-backed Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, the SDF. There have been at least 2 attempted jailbreaks since Assad's fall, the SDF has said. Thin Lizzy's jailbreak is pretty good. Tonight there's going to be a jailbreak. It's a musical day today. Other kinds of references. Trump and President Erdogan of neighboring Turkey want Shiraz government to assume responsibility for these facilities. Erdogan views the main Kurdish factions as a threat to his country, but some regional analysts question whether Damascus has the manpower needed. And I remember they blew up like 80 to 90% of the Syrian weapons there. John Kemper, what's up, John? Good to see you. Good morning, sir. Well, good afternoon, wherever the case may be. It's morning for us here in the Chicagoland area. 74 degrees and cloudy. Syrian authorities have also been grappling with attacks by suspected Assad loyalists, outbreaks of deadly sectarian violence, Israeli airstrikes, and clashes between Turkish-backed groups and the SDF, which controls about a quarter of the country. The interim government is stretched thin from a security perspective. They just do not have the manpower to consolidate control in the entire country, said Charles Lister, who heads the Syria program at the Middle East Institute, a U.S. think tank. Responding to a request for comment, a U.S. State Department spokesman said it is critical for countries to repatriate detained nationals from Syria and shoulder a greater share of the burden for the camp's security and running costs. The U.S. defense official said Washington remains committed to preventing an ISIS resurgence, and its vetted Syrian partners remain in the field. The U.S. will vigilantly monitor Shiraz government, which has been saying and doing the right things so far, the officials said. And ISIS making a resurgence really is a bold move since they got a new lead singer. 3 days after Trump's meeting with Shiraz, Syria announced it had raided ISIS hideouts in the country's second city, Aleppo, killing 3 militants, detaining 4, and seizing weapons and uniforms. The U.S. has exchanged intelligence with Damascus in limited cases, another U.S. defense official and 2 Syrian officials told Reuters. The coalition is expected to wrap up operations in Iraq by September, but the second U.S. official said Baghdad privately expressed interest in slowing down the withdrawal of some 2,500 American troops from Iraq when it became apparent that Assad would fall. The UN estimates ISIS, also known as Daesh, didn't know that, has 1,500 to 3,000 fighters in the 2 countries, but its most active branches are in Africa. The site data shows the U.S. military believes the group's secretive leader is Abdul Qadir Mumin, who heads the Somalia branch, a senior defense official told reporters in April. Still, site's director Rita Katz cautioned against seeing the drop in ISIS attacks in Syria as a sign of weakness, far more likely that it has entered a re-strategizing phase. Yeah, they're just regrouping. Since Assad's fall, ISIS has been activating sleeper cells, surveying potential targets, and distributing guns, silencers, and explosives, said security sources and Syrian political officials. It also has moved fighters from the Syrian desert, a focus of coalition airstrikes, to cities including Aleppo, Homs, and Damascus, according to the security sources. Of the challenges we face, Daesh is the top of the list, Syrian Interior Minister Anas Khattab told state-owned Ekbaria TV last week. In Iraq, aerial surveillance and intelligence sources on the ground have picked up increased ISIS activity in the northern Hamrin Mountains, a longtime refuge, and along key roads. Ali al-Saidi, an advisor to Iraqi security forces, told Reuters. Officials believe ISIS seized large stockpiles of weapons left behind by Assad's forces, whatever was left, and worry some could be smuggled into Iraq. Foreign Minister Fuad Hussein said Baghdad was in contact with Damascus about ISIS, which he told Reuters in January was growing and spreading into more areas. We hope that Syria is the first place will be stable and Syria will not be a place for terrorists, he said, especially ISIS, terrorists. But that's what happens in a vacuum. Even though they do have leadership, how stable it is, who knows? And Syria is always just, I feel for the actual people of Syria who's had to deal with all this bullshit. Yes, John, ISIS manufactured at the CIA factory. Meanwhile, in Afghanistan, children are starving. Over 90% of Afghan children suffer from food poverty. This is just a nightmare. UNICEF has described malnutrition as one of the most severe humanitarian crises in the country. More than 90% of young children in Afghanistan face food poverty, starvation, and 1.4 million of them are at risk of death due to malnutrition. Diana, the mother of a malnourished child, said, "I couldn't feed this child or even myself. I had another child to feed too. We didn't have good food, and I had to wean this one off. Now he's malnourished." UNICEF ranks Afghanistan as the fourth worst country globally for child food poverty, reporting that 90% of young children in the country struggle with malnutrition. Get this to work. With support from the Commonwealth and the UK's Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, the FCDO, UNICEF has launched the First Foods Afghanistan initiative. The program aims to improve the diets of children under 2 by transforming food and nutrition systems and ending child food poverty, intended to reach 1.7 million children nationwide. Tajuddin Oyewale, UNICEF representative in Afghanistan, stated, "We're shifting the focus from calories to nourishment through child-sensitive food systems and from addressing malnutrition solely through services to also prioritizing the actual foods young children consume. This integrated approach is the only sustainable path to breaking the cycle of malnutrition and poverty in Afghanistan." Ahmed Rahman Fazel, UNICEF spokesperson in Afghanistan, said the goal is to end food poverty in Afghanistan. UNICEF is covering 1.7 million children across all 34 provinces. This program also encourages families to use locally available nutritious foods to prevent malnutrition in their children. Food slavery can kill us all, they are showing. I know, right? Well, they've been poisoning us for years, that's for sure. The water, the food. We invite donors, partners, and communities to join UNICEF in this initiative to support young children with access to essential, diverse foods in their crucial first years of life, said Robert Chatterton Dixon, acting UK ambassador to Afghanistan. Dr. Mohammed Arif Hassanzi commented, "The root issue is that the household economy where the child lives must be strong. I urge both international and local organizations working in child nutrition to increase their efforts and support families with malnourished children. This way, not only the sick children, but also others in the household can be protected." According to UNICEF's 2025 report on child food poverty, 3.5 million young children suffer from acute wasting, with 1.4 million at risk of death. Earlier this week on Sunday, UNICEF, the World Health Organization, the WFP, FAO, and UNFPA, that's a lot of letters, issued a joint statement calling for bold, coordinated action to combat the nutrition crisis among children and women in Afghanistan. Their data showed that 4 in 10 women suffer from malnutrition and 9 in 10 children experience food poverty. Afghanistan, along with Gaza, it's always the children. It's always the kids who suffer, right? You know? We're almost done here, aren't we? Oh, no, we got a few more. I tell you, it's a long show today, y'all. We might go to 1:30. Hell, we may butt up against Kevin's show on Black Bear News. Who knows? It may be a 4-hour show. Dun, dun, dun. But it is what it is. UN fact-finding mission says Sudan conflict escalating, aid weaponized. So Afghanistan, Gaza, and of course Africa, all dealing with this. The UN Independent International Fact-Finding Mission for Sudan has warned that both sides in the country's civil war have escalated the use of heavy weaponry in populated areas while weaponizing humanitarian relief amid devastating consequences for civilians. Let us be clear, the conflict in Sudan is far from over, said Mohammed Ashande Othman, chair of the fact-finding mission, which presented its latest findings to the UN Human Rights Council in Geneva yesterday. The scale of human suffering continues to deepen. The fragmentation of governance, the militarization of society, and the involvement of foreign actors are fueling an ever deadlier crisis. The brutal conflict, now in its third year, erupted in April 2023 between the Sudanese Armed Forces, the SAF, and the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, the RSF, and has killed tens of thousands of civilians and displaced more than 13 million Sudanese, according to the UN data. The UN has previously said that Sudan is experiencing the world's worst humanitarian crisis. The mission found that both sides escalated the use of heavy weaponry in populated areas. In May, an RSF drone strike on Obeid International Hospital in North Kordofan killed 6 civilians, while earlier this month an SAF bombing in Al Khoma killed at least 15 civilians. Aid was also being weaponized by the SAF, which imposed bureaucratic restrictions, as well as by the RSF, which looted convoys and blocked aid, the group said. The mission also documented a sharp rise in sexual and gender-based violence, including gang rape, abduction, sexual slavery, and forced marriage, mostly in RSF-controlled displacement camps. Member of the fact-finding mission, Mona Rishmawi, said what began as a political and security crisis has become a grave human rights and protection emergency marked by international crimes that stain all involved. It's unconscionable that this devastating war is entering its third year with no sign of resolution, she said. So, this world is just deteriorating under the leadership of the stupid and the evil, more or less. I mean, I know that boils it down, but, and there's nuance, but more or less that's it. Meanwhile, China is about to tell the West to fuck your F-35s because we got something for that ass. As world's first 6G electronic warfare weapon by China can jam F-35 radar in seconds. Scientists in China have developed a groundbreaking new electronic warfare weapon that utilizes 6G technology. You remember everybody was talking about 5G and they were going to put the towers up and everybody was going to get like instant cancer or something like that? They probably are, but I'm just saying. The researchers behind the project claim that the advanced weapon, which utilizes a next-generation signal processing mechanism, is much more powerful than modern military radars. China is the world leader in 6G technologies. According to a South China Morning Post report, the country holds the world's largest portfolio of 6G patents. The new 6G weapon project, led by Professor Deng Li at Huazhong University of Science and Technology, HUST. Don't say that you love me. Oh, sorry, that's Tusk. Never mind. Has reportedly, I told you it's a musical day, has reportedly unlocked unprecedented jamming and communications capabilities. The system targets advanced radar systems like the Northrop Grumman APG-85 used in the F-35 stealth fighter. That system operates in the X-band at frequencies up to 12 gigahertz. 1.2 gigawatts. While traditional countermeasures would struggle against such an advanced system, this 6G weapon can generate over 3,600 false targets to confuse pilots. The system also, functions as a ground-based jammer and a high-speed communications hub, transmitting vast amounts of battlefield data to over 300 platforms via optical fibers. According to the researchers, this marks the world's first publicly confirmed system achieving simultaneous same-frequency, full duplex communication and jamming capabilities. In a paper published in the journal Optica Sinica, they wrote that the evolution of 6G technology is driving the convergence of communications, radar, and electronic warfare applications. Their solution shows superior signal storage, jamming, and transmission performance in a compact, multifunctional architecture, delivering a groundbreaking approach for next-generation electronic warfare. The team's system harnesses microwave photonic systems, blending photons and electrons to surpass electronic limitations. Unlike traditional systems focused on singular functions, this 6G device integrates sensing, analysis, and transmission with minimal power. Its compact design consolidates complex functionalities once requiring extensive hardware into a streamlined architecture. Deng and his team developed a photon-driven core with a tri-dimensional structure. This sounds like some Star Trek shit. This features a dual polarization IQ modulator, which I think a lot of people in the United States definitely need an IQ modulator, for signal processing and jamming, an active fiber loop for precision delayed false targets, and a smart carrier reconstruction method to spoof radars. So basically, this thing can just put up all kinds of like false images up there and the radar doesn't know what to do. Despite its advancements, current 6G technology still faces the contradiction between system simplification and functional enhancements, the team noted. As they continue to iterate upon their design, the team aims to reduce component counts and power consumption at the same time as enhancing signal quality and processing capabilities. According to the SCMP report, the team has been awarded roughly $10 million in backing by the Chinese government, the military, and Chinese tech companies. The team aims to help consolidate China's 6G leadership and usher in a new era of warfare technology. So if the West is considering any sort of war with China, they one of two things. First, the 6G thing is going to fuck up your planes. Sorry. And two, a lot of the natural resources and stuff we need, that the military needs, guess where it comes from? Big C, Little China. Yeah, that means China. So, check your hubris because, You think you're going to go over there like it's Normandy? You're going to storm the beaches of China? No. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. Meanwhile, Russia has basically been cut off by the U.S., so that's not good. As Russia says, next round of consultations with U.S. canceled at Washington's initiative. Ooh. Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova. All right, stop it. Bad boy. Russia said on Monday that the next round of consultations between Moscow and Washington have been canceled at the initiative of the U.S. side. A written commentary by Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman and my future ex-wife Maria Zakharova said the next meeting as part of Russia-U.S. consultations to normalize the activities of their respective diplomatic mission was canceled at the initiative of American negotiators. We hope that the pause they took will not be too long, Zakharova went on to say, without providing a reason behind the cancellation. U.S. authorities have not immediately confirmed or commented on Zakharova's remarks. Consultations aimed at normalizing the operations of Russian and U.S. embassies and addressing obstacles in bilateral relations took place in the Turkish metropolis Istanbul, not Constantinople, on February 27th and April 10th, respectively. Last week, Russia's ambassador to the U.S., Alexander Darkiev, told the state news agency TASS that a third round of talks between the two countries would take place in Moscow in the nearest future, but noted that the decision to move the venue for the talks to each other's capitals was preliminary. Yep. So, just keep Trump and his enablers on both sides of the aisle are making all this happen. You always like a hot animation woman. Me too. She's a cutie pie. Like, well, you're just misogynist. No, I'm praising her. A smart lady is hot. I like smart women. They're nice. Dumb women. Meanwhile, back here at home, the U.S. Senate has passed a stablecoin bill in milestone victory for Crypto Center. So all you crypto bros, congrats, I guess. U.S. Senate has passed a bill to create a regulatory framework for U.S. dollar-pegged cryptocurrency tokens known as stablecoins in a watershed moment for the digital asset industry. The bill, dubbed the Genius Act, well, that's bold, received bipartisan support on Tuesday, with several Democrats joining most Republicans to back the proposed federal rules. It passed 68-30 in the Senate. The House of Representatives, which is controlled by Republicans, needs to pass its version of the bill before it heads to Trump's desk for approval. Stablecoins, a type of cryptocurrency designed to maintain a constant value, usually a one-to-one dollar peg, are commonly used by crypto traders to move funds between tokens. So that's kind of like, I guess that's Ethereum. Is that kind of a thing too? That you had to pay those gas fees or whatever? Kill, are you making a Thundar reference? Are you serious? That's awesome. Thundar the Barbarian, Lords of Light, Demon Dogs. All you old people know what that is. Thundar the Barbarian. If signed into law, the stablecoin bill will require tokens to be backed by liquid assets such as U.S. dollars and short-term treasury bills, and for issuers to publicly disclose the composition of their reserves on a monthly basis. It's a major milestone, said Andrew Allman from the Allman Brothers. That's not the Allman. That's Allman. A managing partner at law firm Mayer Brown and the former deputy director of the National Economic Council during Trump's first term. It establishes for the first time a regulatory regime for stable coins, a rapidly developing financial product and industry. Ookla the Mock, hell yeah, and Ariel. Remember Ariel? She was cute. Kill, we had to do a show together just talking about Saturday morning cartoons from the 70s and 80s. The crypto industry has long pushed for lawmakers to pass legislation creating rules for digital assets, arguing that a clear framework could enable stablecoins to become more widely used. The sector spent more than 119 million smackers backing pro-crypto congressional candidates in last year's election and had tried to paint the issue as bipartisan. The House passed a stablecoin bill last year, but it died after the Senate, in which Democrats held the majority at the time, did not take it up. So stablecoin, right? I'm not a big fan of crypto. I don't like it, mostly because it's digital, and you know what happens to digital when a EMP or a coronal mass ejection comes to town. There goes your money. You might actually be safer with the you might be safer with the stuff and the money in your mattress. Where are we at here? All right. So back here back here at home, more fuckery. 700 military personnel mobilized to support ICE in 3 states. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth last week authorized the mobilization of up to 700 troops to assist federal immigration officials in Florida, Louisiana, and Texas in processing detainees at ICE facilities, the Pentagon said yesterday. These service members, drawn from all components and operating in a Title X duty status, will provide logistical support and conduct administrative and clerical functions associated with the processing of illegal aliens at ICE detention facilities, officials wrote in the press release. They will not directly participate in law enforcement activities, they added. Title X of the U.S. Code outlines the structure and scope of the armed forces, including the president's power to federalize state National Guard units. What the hell? Ain't nobody asked you? State National Guard units in certain situations, such as rebellion. President Trump and Hegseth have cited the same power in mobilizing up to 700 Marines to support ICE agents in California, where thousands protested against the Trump administration's workplace immigration raids and many were arrested. A little bit more on that later. We got another, I'm starting to add James Lee to the mix. So he's going to tell us more of his thoughts there in the propaganda watch a little bit later. The defense secretary was repeatedly questioned during congressional hearings last week on the necessity of deploying troops in Los Angeles. Threatening to use our own troops on our own citizens at such scale is unprecedented, it is unconstitutional, and it is downright un-American, said Patty Murray, Democrat out of Washington. That's what she told Hegseth. He repeatedly said the troops were fulfilling a constitutionally allowed role of protecting federal law enforcement agents. California has sued the administration over what it calls federal overreach, while Governor Gavin Newsom has warned the precedent could quickly expand to other states. A group of retired generals and former civilian heads of military branches submitted an amicus brief on Sunday as the legal fight plays out in federal court. While the president is entitled to criticize his opponents in political terms, involving the military in domestic political controversies risks harming the military's ability to recruit and retain service members and garner broad public support for its budgets and programs, therefore undermining its ability to achieve its core mission of protecting the nation or expanding empire, as it really is doing, said the brief. From 6 former military generals and admirals and 2 former branch secretaries and a partridge in a pear tree. It is precisely for this reason that the military should be kept out of domestic law enforcement whenever possible, the group added. The Hill, that's where this is coming from, has asked the Pentagon for additional details about its latest order. In maintaining the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security of the U.S., the Department of Defense works alongside with the Department of Homeland Security, the lead federal agency in this critical effort, the Pentagon said in Tuesday's press release. This support provides critical resources to support ICE's mission, freeing up law enforcement personnel to focus on law enforcement tasks and missions such as cracking heads on protesters. The department remains committed to securing 100% operational control of the border. The news comes after Texas Governor Greg Abbott, you know that guy, said the state's National Guard was also prepared to ensure peace and order as protests against Trump's immigration crackdown spread beyond California. And speaking of the border, down in Mexico, another mayor is killed in Mexico, this time in Michoacan. Ooh, Michoacan. The good weed comes from Michoacan. It's Michoacan. It's Labrador. A Mexican mayor and her husband were killed Tuesday in the western state of Michoacan, less than 48 hours after a mayor in the southern state of Oaxaca was killed. The Michoacan State Prosecutor's Office confirmed on social media that Tepalcatepec mayor, I'm not saying that again, Martha Laura Mendoza had been killed. Prosecutors offered no additional details. That place is near the border with Jalisco State and is a persistent hotspot for drug cartel violence in Mexico. A number of organized crime groups operate in the area. Director of the State Institutional Revolutionary Party, Guillermo Valencia, said Mendoza was killed leaving her home. We continue demanding justice, Valencia said on social media, noting that 6 Michoacan mayors have been killed under the current Mexican administration that took office in October. Another Michoacan mayor, Tacambaro's Salvador Bastidas, was killed earlier this month. The latest killing came 2 days after Lilia Garcia Soto, mayor of San Mateo Piñas, was killed in Oaxaca. I think I'm saying that right. Is it Oaxaca? Bella. What's up, Bella? Good to see you. No notifications of Truthful Channels anymore? Yeah, I know. Are you saying this is Truthful Channel? Bella, you're the best. Don't go changing. Please don't. Because I don't have fresh diapers. Wait, what? Finally, in our long news block here today, Argentine ex-president Kirchner to serve prison term at home. You remember this broad? Yeah, she's fun. A judge on Tuesday agreed to let Argentine ex-president Cristina Kirchner to serve a 6-year fraud sentence at home, easing concern among backers, keeping a vigil outside her apartment with plans to protest in case she was jailed. The South American country's Supreme Court last week upheld the 72-year-old's fraud conviction, as well as a sentence of 6 years and a lifelong ban on holding public office. This closed off the final avenue for appeal after Kirchner was convicted in 2022 of fraud in the awarding of public works tenders to a business associate during her 2007 to 2015 presidency. She was given until Wednesday, that was today, to report to authorities to start serving her sentence, which she had asked to do under house arrest in accordance with allowances made under Argentine law for convicted criminals aged over 70. She didn't want to become somebody's prison wallet, I would assume. Prison wallet. That's a callback to Saturday. Kirchner, who survived an assassination attempt in September 2022, cited security reasons for her request and pointed out that as a former president, she was entitled to lifelong police protection, which she would not enjoy in prison. So they assigned the Keystone Cops to her. But prosecutors Tuesday submitted a document to the court arguing there were no health or personal reasons for Kirchner to benefit from house arrest, which they said was an exceptional measure. The court rejected the argument, but granted the prosecutor's request that Kirchner be compelled to wear an electronic bracelet while serving her sentence. I'm assuming that's an electronic anklet, maybe. Well, maybe they have them on the arm, too. While serving her sentence starting Tuesday. In response to the last-minute ruling, one of Kirchner's lawyers, Gregorio Dalban, wrote on the tweeters, "The law prevailed, the people prevailed." Well, she prevailed. Hundreds of supporters of Kirchner, who had been a dominant leftist force in Argentine politics for the last 2 decades, have observed a near-constant vigil outside her Buenos Aires apartment since the court ruling and had been gearing up for demonstrations in the capital Wednesday. That's probably why they'll let her have house arrest, because they're like, protest, we don't want that shit. She'll still be fucked up, whatever. In 2022, her conviction sparked demonstrations in several cities, and some ended in clashes with police. Kirchner and her backers claimed the case was a political plot to end her career and unravel her legacy of protectionist economics and social programs. A fierce critic of the austerity policies of budget-slashing President Javier Milei, she has called the Supreme Court judges puppets acting on orders from above. Kirchner is the second ex-leader since Argentina's transition from dictatorship to democracy in 1983 to be sentenced to prison after Carlos Saul Menem convicted of weapons trafficking. Menem never served jail time because he had immunity from prosecution as a senator. That's nice. Kirchner had herself been planning to run for a seat in the Buenos Aires provincial legislature in September elections that would have given her immunity for the duration of her term. Kirchner rose to prominence as part of a political power couple with her late husband, Nestor Kirchner, who preceded her as president. After 2 terms at the helm herself between 2007 and 2015, she served as vice president from 2019 to 2023 in the last center-left administration before Milei took power. Argentina, man, what a fucked up place. Here she is. Hi, everybody. So, yeah, that's your news roundup for today, sponsored by, oh, God, kill me. Yeah. So, like I said, we got a fat one in the old propaganda watch today. Mahmoud Khalil is trying to get out of that Louisiana detention center, and they are bound and determined to keep that poor boy there.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So Khalil renews plea for release from Louisiana Detention Center, asked to be closer to family. There's the gentleman right there. Lawyers for Palestinian Columbia University graduate Mahmoud Khalil wrote to a U.S. District Court on Monday asking for him to be immediately released on bail or for him to be transferred to New Jersey. The request came after Khalil, who helped lead pro-Palestinian campus protests at Columbia University last year, was close to being released from detention in Jena, Louisiana, where he has been held since March on allegations that he poses a threat to UN foreign policy by saying shit. Monday's filing says that Khalil is neither a flight risk nor a danger to anyone. It says that his detention, more than 1,300 miles from his family, friends, and legal team in New York, violates an ICE policy that says that detained parents should be held as close as practicable to their families. The filing says that the court previously recognized that continued detention based solely on the sorts of misrepresentations alleged by the government is exceedingly rare and in retaliation for his advocacy on Palestine. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. U.S. District Court Judge Michael Farbiars, who is overseeing his case, last week ruled it was unconstitutional to detain and deport Khalil, a lawful permanent resident, for supporting Palestinian human rights, and that he should be released from detention. The court gave the government until Friday morning to appeal. The government then told the court on Friday that it would continue to detain Khalil in Louisiana, saying that Khalil had omitted information on his green card application. Oh, looky. Look at that. While Judge Farbiers acknowledged that the government virtually never detains anyone on misrepresentation charges, he said he would uphold their appeal and did not grant Khalil's release. Pussy. Brett Max Kaufman, senior counsel at the ACLU Center for Democracy, expressed concern about the government's pretext for detaining Khalil, saying, like it has for the past 3 months, the government is using all of the tools available to it to hinder justice for Mahmoud. The government practically never holds people in detention on a charge like this, and it's clear that the government is doing anything they can to punish Mahmoud for his speech about Palestine. Lawyer Mark Vanderhout said it was another cruel attempt by the government to punish Mahmoud for his protected speech. Detaining someone on a charge like this is highly unusual and frankly outrageous. The district court soundly and clearly rejected the Department of Homeland Security's attempt to deport Mahmoud for speaking out about the genocide in Gaza, and there continues to be no constitutional basis for his detention, he added. And you basically know the basics on who he is. He graduated with a master's degree from Columbia School of International and Public Affairs in December. He was one of the main negotiators for students during the pro-Palestine campus encampment last spring. On March 8th, the Trump administration and DHS arrested and detained Khalil for his advocacy for Palestinian rights at Columbia University. He's a new father and has not been charged with any crime. He's being illegally detained. The government argues that Khalil should be deported on foreign policy grounds. Basically, they don't like what he has to say. And so the rest goes on for the history of Khalil, and we all know that. But that was just kind of an update on his situation, and I hope he gets out soon and he ggits to be with his family again, because that is you're right, Chuck. That is fucking bullshit. Meanwhile, in New York, one of the candidates for mayor just got locked up. New York City Comptroller arrested by ICE agents outside immigration court. There he is right there. New York City Comptroller Brad Lander has been arrested by federal agents at an immigration court as the administration of Trumpy steps up its confrontational approach with local officials over immigration raids. Lander, a central candidate in the city's Democratic primary election for mayor, was escorting a defendant out of court on Tuesday as part of an effort to observe immigration hearings and promote legal services for immigrants when he was arrested by ICE. While escorting a defendant out of immigration court at 26 Federal Plaza, Brad was taken by masked agents and detained by ICE, reads a post on Lander's social media account that says it was written by his wife. The arrest is the latest case of Trump taking a harsh stance towards Democratic officials who are critical of its aggressive approach to immigration enforcement. Federal immigration agencies have stepped up apprehensions of immigration courts in recent weeks, a practice that critics say discourage immigrants from participating in the judicial system. Democratic lawmakers expressed outrage last week when California Senator Alex Padilla was handcuffed after attempting to interrupt a news conference by Department of Homeland Security and put a Barbie doll in a microwave, Kristi Noem, amid protests against immigration raids in Los Angeles, during which Trump also threatened to have California Governor Gavin Newsom arrested. Hey, what's up, Yona? Good to see you. It's good to see you, my friend. Other mayoral candidates have rallied to Lander's side, with New York State Assembly member Zoran Mamdani calling the arrest part of a trend of ICE terrorizing people across the country, and former state governor Andrew Cuomo calling it thuggery by the Trump administration. Kind of funny coming from Andrew Cuomo. In a video of Lander's arrest, he looked to be trying to hold arms with the defendant before agents, some wearing face masks, physically separate the two and handcuff the comptroller. Lander can be heard repeatedly asking for a judicial warrant, which is required for immigration arrests under some circumstances. An officer holds up a paper saying it is a warrant, though he does not pass it over. It was probably a shopping list. After cuffing Lander, federal agents can be heard telling the comptroller that he is obstructing. That's another one. That's what the cops do. If you're filming the cops on your own property, you're obstructing. You're still obstructing. You're obstructing their ability to get away with bullshit is what it is. As he tells them they don't have authority to arrest U.S. citizens. So, comptroller, one of the mayoral candidate in New York getting arrested. And you're probably going to see more of that shit, too. It's going to happen. What's Israel's bombing of Iran's state broadcaster says about its targeting of journalists? So everybody knows journalists are not allowed in Israel unless they're friendly to Israel. And of course, they've murdered over 200 plus journalists since October 2023. Yeah, exactly, Stephanie. The Dems saying a lot of words. What are they doing? Fundraising! And special guest strongly worded letters. Exactly. Exactly. Or, as the scholars call it, jack shit. In what press freedom groups say is only the latest in a string of attacks on media workers, the Israeli military on Monday struck the headquarters of state-owned Islamic Republic of Iran Broadcasting Network in Tehran. The attack, which interrupted a live broadcast, killed at least 2 members of staff. News editor Nima Rajabpour and secretariat worker Masume Azimi, and injured several others, according to state-affiliated media. In footage widely shared online, Sahar Imami, an anchor for the Islamic Republic of Iran's news network, was seen fleeing the studio as the screen behind her filled with smoke. Moments earlier, she had told viewers, "You hear the sound of the aggressor attacking the truth." I don't know what this is. This is 54 journalists killed worldwide in 2024. Yeah. And then goes up after that. The strike destroyed the building known as the Glass Building, which burned through the night. Israel immediately claimed responsibility. Defense Minister Israel Katz had issued a warning less than an hour earlier, calling IRIB a propaganda incitement megaphone. The irony of projection not lost upon him, urging up to 330,000 nearby residents to evacuate. The attack drew swift condemnation from Iranian officials. Ismail Bakai, spokesperson for Iran's foreign ministry, called it a wicked act of war crime, urging the international community to demand justice from Israel for its attack on the media. The world is watching, Bakai wrote on the tweeters. Israeli regime is the biggest enemy of truth and is the #1 killer of journalists and media people. Over the past week, the long-running shadow war between Israel and Iran has escalated dramatically. As you know, on Friday, all hell broke loose. With the stated aim of preventing Iran obtaining a nuclear weapon, the strikes caused significant damage to the country's nuclear infrastructure and military command structure, with multiple high-ranking commanders killed. The Israeli attack on IRIB shows media workers are not exempt from violence. Sarah Kuda, Sarah Kuda. Regional director of the Committee to Protect Journalists said she was appalled by Israel's attack on Iran's state television channel. noting that the lack of international censure has emboldened it to target media elsewhere in the region. Yeah, so they've already blown up all those that aren't, friendly to the regime around them, and now they're going elsewhere. Lorelei Hahn Herrera, lecturer in global media and digital cultures at SOAS University of London, echoed this view. The exceptional status through which Western powers have historically shielded Israel has allowed it to systematically commit international law and human rights violations without ever being held accountable or suffer any legal, financial, military, or diplomatic repercussions, she told Arab News. This has indeed emboldened Israel to attack not only Palestine and Iran. In the last months, Israel has broken the ceasefire in Lebanon, bombed Yemen, and Syria as well. Israel's treatment of media workers in combat zones has long been documented by press freedom organizations. Despite repeated calls for accountability, Israel has consistently evaded consequences. Israel has a sophisticated political communication strategy which rests on its Hasbara, its propaganda, that has worked hand in hand with its material strategies to control the public spaces in the West through repeating narratives about victimhood and its right to defend itself. Oh, it's so weird how some of these people, not just in Israel, claiming victimhood, meanwhile they're committing atrocities. Dina Matar, professor of political communication and Arab media at SOAS, told Arab News. Monday's strike in Tehran closely mirrors Israel's record in Gaza and the West Bank since October 7th. Under the banner of eliminating terrorists, Israel has killed at least 183 journalists in Palestine and Lebanon, according to CPJ. Others put the figure close to 220. It's probably even more than that. A separate report published in April by the Costs of War Project at Brown University described the Gaza conflict as the worst ever for journalists. Titled News Graveyards, How Dangers to War Reporters Endanger the World, the study concluded that more journalists have been killed in Gaza than in all major U.S. wars combined. The report was swiftly attacked by Israeli nationalists who dismissed it as garbage and factually flawed for not linking the journalists killed to militant activity because that's the only way that they can justify it. There is no policy of targeting journalists, a senior Israeli officer said last year, attributing the deaths to the scale and intensity of the bombardment. But Han Herrera disagrees. Israel is not only targeting journalists, it's targeting the families of the journalists as a strategy to deter their coverage and punish them for reporting the war crimes Israel commits on a daily basis in occupied Palestine, she said. Han Herrera cited several examples where Israel appeared to punish journalists by targeting their families. One case was that of Al Jazeera's Gaza bureau chief, Wael Daoud, who was broadcasting live when he learned that his wife, daughter, and son and grandchild had been killed in an Israeli airstrike in October 2023. A more recent case involved photojournalist Fatima Hassouna, who was killed alongside several family members. Both attacks, Israel claimed, were aimed at Hamas operatives. Hamas. But critics say they reflect a broader strategy of silencing coverage through collective punishment. Yet accusations of Israel's targeting of journalists precede the last 20 months. Israel has a long and documented history of targeting Palestinian journalists, said Matar, pointing to the 1972 assassination of writer Ghassan Ghanafani in Beirut. A prominent Palestinian author and militant, Ghanafani was considered to be a leading novelist of his generation and one of the Arab world's leading Palestinian writers. He was killed, along with his 17-year-old niece, Lamis, by an explosive device planted in his car by Mossad in one of the first known extrajudicial killings for which the Israeli spy agency ever claimed responsibility. More recently, in May 2022, Palestinian-American journalist Shireen Abu Akleh was shot dead by an Israeli soldier during a raid in Jenin, despite wearing a press vest. Probably because she was wearing a press vest. Initial Israeli claims blaming Palestinian fire were quickly disproven by independent investigations and the UN. What you mean? You mean Israel didn't investigate itself? And a 2025 documentary identified the suspected shooter, but no one had been held accountable. Foreign media workers have also been killed in 2014. Italian journalist Simone Camilli and his Palestinian colleague Ali Sheida Abu Afash died when an unexploded Israeli bomb detonated while they were reporting in Gaza. In 2003, Welsh documentarian James Miller was fatally shot by Israeli forces while filming in Rafah. A year earlier, Italian photojournalist Raffaele Ciriello, on assignment for Corriere della Sera, was shot dead by Israeli gunfire in Ramallah during the second intifada, becoming the first foreign journalist killed in that conflict. No one has been held accountable in any of these cases. Let that sink in. The reason behind Israel's targeting and killing of journalists is to send a clear message and instill fear of reporting Israel's military campaign in Gaza and the West Bank, as it can carry the consequence of death and or injury, said Han Herrera, who noted Israel's refusal to allow international media into Gaza as part of a wider strategy to monopolize the narrative. This is an attempt to minimize or flat out stop any negative coverage of Israeli actions in Gaza and the rest of the occupied territories, she said. Israel does not want international media, particularly Western media, to cover their genocide campaign and their ongoing and systematic war crimes and push further the delegitimization of Israel. While Israel has so far refused to grant broader media access to the enclave, Western news organizations and human rights groups have attempted to push back against the Israeli narrative, arguing that affiliation with outlets like Al-Aqsa TV or Iran state broadcaster IRIB does not justify extrajudicial killings. News outlets, even propagandist ones, are not legitimate military targets, the Freedom of the Press Foundation said in a statement on Monday. Bombing a studio during a live broadcast will not impede Iran's nuclear program. As the conflict with Iran escalates, incidents like Monday's bombing are likely to face growing scrutiny from many observers. Israel's actions are becoming increasingly indefensible, and international tolerance for such attacks may be nearing its limit. Yeah, dancing Israelis, of course. CJ, what's up? Good to see you. Good morning. Good afternoon. Whatever the hell it is. The international community has played an important role in allowing Israel to act in this manner, said Han Herrera. Yeah, particularly the West. Since its establishment in 1948, and even before that, through the Balfour Declaration in 1917, the West has protected Israel in the international relations arena. The best example of this is the use of the U.S. veto in the UN Security Council, or the ever-present declarations that Israel has a right to defend itself by European and American political leadership. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Until the international community effectively implements sanctions, stops funding and arming Israel, we will only continue to witness Israel's brazen violations of international and human rights law. We cannot expect Israel to self-regulate because Israel is not a democracy. Its political and legal systems are subservient to the Zionist ideology of colonization and racial supremacy, and will act to satisfy these aims. Yeah, that's the end goal. Take over. Doesn't exist. You do exist. It's the end of the world as we know it. That's it. Well, enjoy this bad news. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. All right, cool. What do we got next? Okay. I like getting stuff from Declassified UK. I don't know if you folks across the pond are checking this out. Please, you do so. They do some really in-depth stuff. Investigative journalism. Parliament watchdog accused of bias over treatment of pro-Israel politicians. How about that? Israel has the right to whop, whop, whop. Bam! I'm going to beat the fuck out of you. The Parliamentary Standards Commissioner has been accused of bias after dismissing a complaint against dozens of pro-Israel MPs. The classified can reveal how Daniel Greenberg, who is meant to be impartial, That comes at a premium these days. Voiced support for Israel's assault on Gaza after being appointed to his role in 2023. He also once implied that any Israeli who refused service in the IDF was, quote, a coward and a parasite. The comments have raised questions over his refusal last year to investigate whether MPs should formally declare their role in Labor Friends of Israel, the LFI, which just last month sent a delegation to meet the country's president. In October, Greenberg twice rejected a complaint about the MPs, suggesting there was no need for them to be transparent about their involvement with LFI because their roles were not sufficiently significant and formal. This is despite some holding vice chair positions, which are not significant and formal. Apparently, the LFI is funded by anonymous donors and was described as a lobbying organization by one of its former directors. A full list of its supporters, which include Keir Starmer and David Lammy, was deleted from the group's website shortly before the election last year. How about that? None of the MPs have declared their roles in Parliament's Register of Interest. As Standards Commissioner, Greenberg is responsible for conducting impartial investigations to enforce transparency in the Register of Interest. But two former members of Parliament's Standards Committee have now questioned his judgment, one saying he ought to recuse himself over complaints related to Israel. In 2012, Greenberg wrote a blog post about military service in Israel, criticizing boys hiding behind their religious books in order to evade army service. That's what's it called? The Orthodox Jews that are studying the Torah. Is that right? He said that his son had recently emigrated to Israel and had been signed up for military service. Kieran, what's up? Good morning or good afternoon from the UK to the bank. Yep, that's Matt Kennard, declassified founder member. So he says, Greenberg wrote, he could have avoided it pretty much forever had he chosen to, but my son prefers to participate in genocide. I'm sorry, to be able to look himself in the face in the morning than to avoid army service. If you live in a country where the borders need guarding, then you take your turn in guarding them. Otherwise, what are you but a coward and a parasite living off the efforts of others? Greenberg continued to publicly voice opinions about Israel even after he was appointed to his role as Standards Commissioner in January 2023. Haredi, thank you, CJ. Yeah, they're the ones studying are the Haredi and are exempt from military service. Well, for now. In November of that year, he described Israel's assault on Gaza as a war for its survival and that we have to fight. He later added that innocent civilians in Gaza are living a hell on earth that I cannot even properly imagine. And last year, he accused certain Orthodox Jews who shirk responsibility, those Haredi, towards Israel's military of cowardly self-indulsion, delusion. The commissioner added that those who join the army find themselves in good company on the battlefield. Yay, everybody loves genocide in the IDF. In October, Greenberg's office responded to the complaint against LFI-affiliated MPs, claiming it is for MPs to decide whether an outside interest is relevant and should be declared, but his office later appeared to backtrack on this, admitting that the adherence to the rules was not discretionary. However, Greenberg's office still refused to launch an investigation, implying that they had not seen any evidence that the MPs' roles at LFI were significant and formal. In reality, parliamentary rules state that MPs should not only declare significant, formal, unpaid roles, they should also declare any other interest if it might reasonably be thought by others to influence a member's actions or words as a member in the same way as a financial interest. This rule is one that Greenberg himself has previously considered in other cases. For instance, in 2023, he formally considered whether a conservative MP's unpaid role at an organization might be capable of influencing his actions, ultimately ruling that it would not. He pursued this line of inquiry even despite acknowledging that the role was not significant or formal. As Parliamentary Standards Commissioner, Greenberg is supposed to be independent, fair, thorough, and impartial. until those APAC checks show up. And in 2023, he personally reminded MPs to register any unpaid miscellaneous interest, saying they should be guided by the principle of openness. Greenberg did not respond to questions from Declassified because, ironically, he himself is a coward. But a House of Commons spokesperson said the commissioner's decision not to conduct a formal investigation is final and cannot be appealed. However, if additional evidence comes to light, the allegations can be resubmitted, and the commissioner will consider it afresh. So, yeah, you have these Zionist motherfuckers embedded in all these places, high levels of government. That's why you're seeing the fuckery. If you're like, how can people let this happen? Well, you keep voting for the same fucking people who are getting funded by AIPAC. What do you think's going to fucking happen? You believe in the electoral process that's given us nothing but sycophants to Israel. Voting ain't going to do shit now. You're trying to vote for people in a system that is just corrupt and rotten. My metaphor I keep saying, it's like you're trying to put delicious frosting on a shit cake. And it's going to taste like chocolate and shit. So you got to change the cake. Change the fucking the cake. As I told you earlier, Americans are divided amongst themselves mostly, which is kind of wild. But 40% of Americans expect civil war in the next decade. Now, who's going to participate in that civil war remains to be seen. Look at this guy. 40% of Americans believe a civil war in the U.S. is somewhat or very likely within the next decade. A new YouGov poll released on Tuesday suggests. The poll, which surveyed 3,375 adults, underscores widespread anxiety over the nation's deepening divisions. It also follows a wave of unrest in the country, including violent protests against federal deportations and nationwide demonstrations aimed at Trumpy. Women were more likely than men to consider civil conflict possible or plausible, with 45% indicating it was likely. Views also varied by political affiliation. 40, almost half of Democrats, 39% of independents, and 32% of Republicans said a civil war was at least somewhat probable. I almost said profitable, because the Freudian slip. While respondents were more or less split on the likelihood of a civil war, just over 20% were unsure or declined to answer. The data also suggested racial disparities among white respondents. 10% said a civil war was very likely compared to 18% of black respondents. Hispanics were the least likely to completely dismiss the idea, with only 11% saying a conflict was not likely at all, while 15% called it very likely. Earlier this month, riots erupted across California in response to federal immigration enforcement actions. Trump deployed the National Guard and Marines, chastised Newsom over his handling of the crisis. Last week, Minnesota State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband were fatally shot, and State Senator John Hoffman and his wife injured in what officials called politically motivated attacks. They found the No Kings folder papers in their car. On Saturday, an estimated 5 million people participated in No Kings marches across all 50 states. Organizers described the protests as a stand against authoritarianism, billionaire-first politics, and the militarization of our democracy, even though it was in part funded by one of the Walmart billionaires. Meanwhile, some Republican allies have warned Trump is losing support for deviating from his America First platform, particularly after backing Israeli strikes on Iranian nuclear facilities. Trump dismissed the criticism in an interview with The Atlantic, saying he alone defines what America First means. See, yeah, and that's what I was saying earlier, that if there's going to be a civil war in this country, it's probably going to be the two MAGA factions, right? The pro-war MAGA and the anti-war MAGA. Because it makes sense, right? And the rest of the people are just like, we don't want war. Let's see where we at. How many we got left here? Ding, 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 ding. We got a little more. Yeah, we're going to the top of the hour, at least. Pentagon officer removed over anti-Israel posts. Internal probe launched. The Pentagon has removed a senior officer from his post and launched an internal probe, giggity, following the emergence of inflammatory social media posts criticizing Israel and U.S. policy in the Middle East. Colonel Nathan McCormick, who had been serving as the Levant and Egypt branch chief within the Joint Chiefs of Staff's J5 Strategic Planning Directorate, is at the center of the controversy. MAGA versus MAGA cage match. This is cage match. Okay. The move came shortly after the Jewish News Syndicate, the JNS, reported Tuesday on a semi-anonymous Twitter account allegedly linked to McCormick, which included remarks describing Israel as our worst ally. Yeah. With friends like that, who needs enemas? A Pentagon official told JNS he will no longer be on the joint staff while the matter is being investigated, adding that the Defense Department is assigning an investigating officer to examine the content and its implications. The individual is being returned to his service while the matter is being investigated. First reported by JNS and further detailed by Middle East Eye, the posts, which have been since archived, also included criticism of Bibi. McCormick referred to him and his allies as Judeo-supremacist cronies and accused them of wanting to expel Palestinians and cleanse Eretz Israeli territory, of ethnic Palestinians. In other words, he told the truth. This is the kind of bitter oversharing I'd expect from someone who doesn't know better. A Defense Department contractor told JNS, but at his level and under his own name and likeness, it's mind-boggling. Maybe he had a crisis of conscience. The Pentagon emphasized that the posts do not reflect the position of the Joint Staff or the Department of Defense, underscoring the potential impact such views could have on U.S. alliances. Those APAC checks stop coming, and then all the sordid details of your time on Epstein Island get revealed. Our global alliances and partnerships are vital to our national security, the official said. McCormick's LinkedIn profile states he began his current assignment in 2024 of last year, in June 2024. According to Middle East Eye, the Post also accused Washington of enabling Israel's bad behavior and added, the Western states go to great lengths to avoid criticism of Israel, much out of Holocaust guilt. Well, that's used. But, there's underlying shit besides that. Israel's actions over decades have prompted the accusations of ethnic cleansing and genocide, McCormick also wrote. So somebody in the military is, has a fucking soul. That's nice, I guess. If you're wondering about TikTok, well, guess what? Surprise, surprise. Hello. Why is this? Oh, okay. Maybe if I hit the right button, that will help. Hang on a second. Let me set this. I try to give the Hill a chance, but they're fucked up website. I swear to God. So what is this here? So yeah, okay. Sorry. White House says Trump will push TikTok deadline another 90 days. He's just deferring this till he leaves office, I think. Trump will sign another executive order this week extending the deadline for TikTok's parent company to divest the video sharing app, White House press secretary and brain-dead comatose patient Caroline Leavitt said Tuesday. As he has said many times, President Trump does not... Wait a minute. As he has said many times, President Trump does not want TikTok to go dark, Leavitt said in a statement shared with The Hill. This extension will last 90 days, which the administration will spend working to ensure this deal is closed so that the American people can continue to use TikTok with the assurance that their data is safe and secure. Leavitt's confirmation came just hours after Trump earlier said in the day he would likely extend the divestiture deadline to prevent a ban on TikTok from taking effect in the U.S. The U.S. When asked whether he would give the popular video sharing platform another extension, the president told reporters on aboard Air Force One, probably yeah. Probably have to get China approval, but I think we'll get it, Trump said as he traveled back from the Group of Seven summit in Canada. I think President Xi Jinping will ultimately approve it. The expected order will mark the third extension from Trump since he took office in January. The law requiring TikTok's China-based parent company ByteDance to divest from the platform or face a ban on U.S. networks and app stores was signed by former president and human walking corpse Joe Biden. Yes. So, meanwhile, Tehran denies Western media reports about seeking mediation to end war. So, of course, the propaganda war flies along with the bullets and missiles. Iran has categorically denied requesting that regional countries pressure Washington for an end to Israel's war against the country, as some recent reports in Western media have said. Sources close to the Iranian Foreign Ministry confirmed to The Cradle on June 17th, that's yesterday, that no such contacts have been made with any country. Lebanese journalist Radwan Mortada also reported on Tuesday that Iran has not requested any mediation to halt the Israeli war against it. And this tweet by Squiggle, 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 squiggle. Not making fun of your language, I just can't read it. All claims circulating among journalists are foreign reports about its mediation with Arab or foreign countries to halt the war are pure fabrication. All Iranian officials involved in this matter have categorically denied these claims, Mortada said. The systematic campaign aims to portray Iran as begging for a ceasefire when in reality Iran is escalating its attacks more violently by the day. Tehran has made it clear that Israel started the war, but it certainly won't decide when it ends, he added. On June 16th, Reuters reported that Iran has asked Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Oman to pressure U.S. President Donald Trump to use his influence to get Israel to agree to a ceasefire. The report, which cites 2 Iranian and 3 regional sources, also said Iran is willing to be flexible in the nuclear talks if a ceasefire is reached. One of the sources told the outlet that Gulf states are deeply concerned the conflict will spin out of control and have all appealed to Washington to press Israel to agree to a ceasefire and to resume talks with Tehran towards a nuclear deal. Iran has said that it will continue escalating its strikes against Iran. I gotta pull a Willie Bragg, sorry. Come on, what the hell? Hang on just a second, sorry. Oh my God. Okay. I should have done this sooner. Come here, bitch. And there we go. Okay, good. Israel has said that it will continue escalating its strikes against Iran until Tehran's nuclear program is halted and its missile program crippled. But Iran's foreign minister Abbas Araghchi said recently that Israel ending its war could help restore the path to diplomacy, but we will proudly fight to the last drop of blood to protect our land, our people, our dignity, and our achievements, he affirmed. 2 days ago, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakai said the Islamic Republic of Iran has not sent any message to Israel through any country, denying a claim by the Cypriot President Nikos Christodoulidis that Iranian President Pezeshkian has asked us to convey a message to Israel. In response, Iran launched Operation True Promise 3, which is... wasn't that the search for Spock? Which since Friday evening has seen multiple Iranian ballistic missiles and drone attacks target sites across Israel. Iranian missiles have targeted Israeli bases such as Gilat and Nevatim, as well as oil pipelines in Haifa and an Israeli Defense Ministry building in Tel Aviv. Recent ballistic missile attacks on Israel have caused unprecedented destruction across Tel Aviv and Haifa. Dozens have been killed and hundreds injured. Tehran has vowed to intensify its strikes if Israel continues the war. So there you go. That's why you get both sides of a story, folks. You do not depend on one side for the entirety of the story. Even if you're not a fan of the other side of the story, you still have to get the other side of the story to to at least try to put together some sort of big picture. Right? Or is somebody lying on one side, is somebody lying on the other side? Well, that's why you investigate. Real journalists know this. Some journalists or people who claim to be journalists absolutely do not follow this at all. And let's see here. Hang on a second. Okay, very good. I'm not. It's this new video thing on here is kind of getting me a little bit nutty. So hang on a second. Okay, so finally in our propaganda watch today, of course, I've been adding James Lee to the mix, and he's been kind of poking the bear as far as like trying to see what's the bullshit and what's not going on, not only here but also around the world. And today he's talking about war with Iran. Is America being set up again? It's a good possibility. So this is a little bit, about 6 minutes, but it's good information. Check it out.
All right, let me just say this up front. You're about to be lied to over and over again.
Are you going to target the supreme leader?
Look, we're doing what we need to do. I'm not going to get into the details, but we've targeted their top nuclear scientists. It's basically Hitler's nuclear team. You know, we got them. We still have work to do on other sites. We have targeted their ballistic missile manufacturing facilities. Understand this. You see these bombs. You saw a single bomb. It's a 1-ton bomb, John, dropping on Tel Aviv and other places, causing killing men, women, and children. They're deliberately targeting our population. We're not doing that. We're targeting their military sites, their nuclear sites, their ballistic missile sites, so they don't have 20,000 of these. Today it's Tel Aviv, tomorrow it's New York.
Today it's Tel Aviv, tomorrow it's New York. We're not going to war with Iran because of Israel. We need to go to war with Iran because only Israel can save us from radical Islam. So we've been told.
Take Iran about 12 months to enrich enough
Here we go.
nuclear material for a single nuclear weapon.
United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken is warning that Iran is potentially just months away or less
3
from
months
nuclear
away.
breakpoint.
Iran is 2 months away from a nuclear weapon, and it's a victory to get them 1 year away?
Iran.
It's a sidebar to this. If people in LA know this, if you live there, everything apparently in LA is 20 minutes away, no matter where you're going. It could be one end of the Inland Empire all the way to LA, or it's 20 minutes away.
Iran could be less than a month away from building a nuclear weapon.
Netanyahu has made 2 tough-talking TV appearances, saying that Iran is just months away from making a nuclear bomb.
What is important to understand is that you have to dismantle the entire terror empire, and especially before its main practitioners, the terror states of Iran and Iraq, acquire nuclear weapons. And this, I think, has been a wake-up call from hell.
Iran is just a few months away from building a nuclear weapon, something they've been claiming for over 30 years now. In fact, in March, U.S. Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard confirmed that Iran is neither building a nuclear weapon nor do they have a nuclear weapon.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. The IC continues to monitor closely if Tehran decides to reauthorize its nuclear weapons program.
The irony of this whole nuclear weapons thing is that Israel is the country with a secret nuclear weapons program. And we've known about this since the days of JFK's presidency in the 1960s, and we all know what happened to him. But in 1986, an Israeli nuclear technician named Mordecai Vanunu confirmed this when he leaked photos of Israel's nuclear weapons program to the Sunday Times. And since then, every U.S. president from Bill Clinton onward has had to sign a secret letter agreeing not to interfere with Israel's nukes. In 2009, Obama had the gall to suggest denuclearization, and Bibi freaked out, got real paranoid, and the reporting shows that Obama signed his version of the letter in May of 2009. And today, it is estimated that Israel has between 80 to 400 nukes, more than Pakistan, India, the UK, and France. And let's also be very clear, with Israel, there can be no peace. Israel has assassinated every serious negotiator for peace in the region, from the Iranian diplomats that the Trump administration were just talking to the leaders of Hamas. Hell, they even assassinated their own prime minister because he dared to pursue peace. Yitzhak Rabin, murdered by an Israeli ultra-nationalist in 1995, his death cheered on by none other than Benjamin Netanyahu himself. He doesn't want peace. He wants war. And more importantly, he needs war, because Netanyahu is currently right now on trial for corruption, fraud, and bribery, and war is his only ticket out of jail. So probably no coincidence that since October 7th, Israel has conducted more than 17,000 attacks in 5 countries, including the occupied Palestinian territory, Lebanon, Syria, Yemen, and now also Iran. But of course, those are all preemptive, and they never deliberately targeted civilians.
Self-defense.
Worse yet, Trump just destroyed our last chance at peace by publicly lying to Iranian officials and the American public and pretending to pursue diplomacy, all the while greenlighting Israel's attack in private. And if you're one of those people who think it's just Trump and that the Democrats will save us or somehow could have saved us, think again.
Oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran. You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. And thank you for those joining at home tonight. Let's keep in mind where this started. October 7th, Hamas terrorists massacred over 1,400 Israelis and took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental.
You say war is always bipartisan. So here's what comes next. You're going to see news headlines written by neocons and IDF pundits about unprovoked Iranian attacks or preemptive Israeli strikes. You're going to see terror alerts and maybe, just maybe, a false flag or two. But here's the truth. We are, without a doubt, an occupied country without a diplomatic off-ramp. The only saving grace that we have right now is that perhaps things are a little different than they were back in 2001, 2002, 2003, and the invasion of Afghanistan and Iraq, in that there is now a robust social media and new media ecosystem to offer the public some dissenting voice. So please share this video while you can, because America cannot survive another foreign war. My name is James Lee. This is the 5149 Show. Let me know in the comments below whether you support this war with Iran and what you think Trump should or can do about it right now. Also, please like, share, and subscribe to support independent media.
President of the United States is fucking lying. I think this whole administration has completely lost their fucking mind. And I think we're all gonna die.
Now, that wasn't Leo being Leo. I think that was Leo from Don't Look Up. But he ain't wrong. He ain't fucking wrong. We're all gonna die. Wait, what happened? So, yeah, James Lee, 5149 with James Lee. I know a lot of you know about him already. But if not, check out his videos. He really does some common sense analysis on these, what's going on in the world. And that's what we need. We don't need like this overblown bullshit, flowery shit. We need to get to the meat of what's going on. Because you could sit there and talk to your normie friends outside of this space about this with the flowery words and stuff, and they'll just call you some sort of liberal commie pinko. But you gotta put it in terms that they'll understand. So good job, James. I appreciate you. So that's almost it for today. We got one more little fun, happy coming up. Actually, we try to end this show with a little good news, or at least something funny to cleanse your palate of the stank from the rest of these stories. But before we do that, of course, I want to remind you that our buddy Kevin at Black Bear News needs your help. If you could help him, if you could donate to his GoFundMe, he actually needs the money, and it's not his fault that his house burned down. So if you could help him out and check out his show, I think he's coming up here in about an hour and 8 minutes. On YouTube, and I think he's on Twitter and on Telegram, I think he does as well. So, and the link's below for his GoFundMe down there too. And our links are down there too if you want to help out this show. Like I said, our buddy Stephanie, booyah! Get to the meat. That's right, baby. Thank you, Stephanie. She's our newest Patreon. If you want to become a Patreon member, it's easy. You can do $1 a month. You get your name and lights. Steph, sweetie, I didn't get your name up on the thing yet. I got to fix that. I was planning on redoing the Patreon thing where we show all the nice people's names. So we'll get you on there and all the other shows too. So thanks again. Love you so much. Not just because of the cash, but because you're a cool chick as well. So, and all the donation links are down below. If you don't want to do Patreon, you just want to, slip me some cash. You got CashApp and Venmo and all the usual suspects. Also, we do super chats on here too. Anyway, I'm done begging for money. I appreciate all of that. If you can't donate, if you could share out the links, that's just as good as well. Finally, apparently the world's oldest restaurant is facing a challenge from another one that says it's even older. So I've never seen a contest where people were proud of being older, but it is what it is, and here we are. The world's oldest restaurant faces a challenge from another Madrid tavern that says it's even older. Oh, you get that one itch you can't scratch. Oh, my God. Okay. In the heart of Spain's capital, Sobrino de Botín holds a coveted Guinness World Record as the world's oldest restaurant. Exactly 300 years after it opened its doors, Botín welcomes droves of daily visitors hungry for Castilian fare with a side of history. But on the outskirts of Madrid, far from the souvenir shops and tourist sites, a rustic tavern named Casa Pedro makes a bold claim. Its owners assert the establishment endured not just the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s and the Napoleonic invasion of the early 1800s, but even the War of Spanish succession at the start of the 18th century, a lineage that would make Casa Pedro older than Botín and a strong contender for the title. Hopefully the food's not that old. Oh, the food's fresher. It's really frustrating when you say, yes, we've been around since 1702, but you can't prove it, said manager and 8th-generation proprietor Irene Gunales. If you look at the restaurant's logo, it says Casa Pedro since 1702, so we said, damn it, let's try to prove it. Gunales remembers her grandfather swearing by Casa Pedro's age, but she was aware that decades-old hearsay from a proud old-timer wouldn't be enough to prove it. Come on, old-timers know. Her family hired a historian and has so far turned up documents dating the restaurant's operations to at least 1750, that puts them within striking distance of Botín's record. Both taverns are family-owned. Both offer Castilian classics like stewed tripe. Stewed tripe. Isn't tripe like... stomach intestine, and roast suckling pig, giggity. They are decorated with charming Spanish tiles, featuring ceilings with exposed wooden beams and underground wine cellars, and both enjoy rich star-studded history. Botín's celebrated past includes a roster of literary patrons like Truman Capote, F. Scott Fitzgerald, and Graham Greene. In his book, The Sun Also Rises, Ernest Hemingway described it as, quote, one of the best restaurants in the world. While Casa Pedro may not have boasted the same artistic pedigree, it boasts its own VIPs. Its walls are adorned with decades-old photographs of former Spanish King Juan Carlos I dining in one of its many rooms. The current Spanish monarch King Felipe VI dines there too, albeit more inconspicuously than his father. But the similarities between the two hotspots end there. Casa Pedro was once a stop on the only road heading north from the Spanish capital toward France. Its clientele is largely local regulars like David Gonzalez and Mate Villena, who for years have spent every Friday lunching at the tavern. It wouldn't change a thing for us, Villena said about the restaurant someday securing the Guinness title. Botín, on the other hand, is a stone's throw from Madrid's former Plaza Mayor, where any day of the week tour guides are herding groups around town and often straight through the restaurant's front door. Antonio Gonzalez, a third-generation proprietor of Botín, concedes that the Guinness accolade awarded in 1987 has helped business, but said the restaurant had enough history to draw visitors even before it has a certain magic, he said. The question then becomes, how can either restaurant definitively claim the title? Guinness provides its specific guidelines for the superlative only to applicants, according to spokesperson Kylie Galloway, noting that it entails substantial evidence and documentation of the restaurant's operation over the years. Gonzalez said Guinness required Botín to show that it has continuously operated in the same location with the same name. The only time the restaurant closed was during the COVID-19 pandemic, as did Casa Pedro. That criteria would mean that restaurants that are even older, Paris's Le Précope, which says it was founded in 1686, or Beijing's Bianfiang, founded in 1416, or the 1673 established White Horse Tavern in Newport, Rhode Island, aren't eligible for designation. La Campana in Rome's historic center claims over 500 years of operation, citing documents on its menu. And in a self-published history, its owners say they have compiled the requisite paperwork and plan to submit it to Guinness. So, and there's more there, but fuck it, we ain't got time. It's that time to get the fuck out of here. So, I don't know. There's a White Castle not too far from here. I think was probably opened by the natives back around the Younger Dryas about 13,000 years ago. So, but they get no love, and their food's about as old as the restaurant. Stewed tripe is not menudo. It's not the group, is it? Tripas is good in stew or in soup or in liquid or some sort. Okay. Oh, you checked the menu? Nice place. Okay. Yeah. Usually if you're like 400, 500 years old, technically you should probably know what you're fucking doing. Otherwise, what the hell are you doing in business? Okay. That's it for me today. Thanks for hanging out on a special Wednesday episode of this. Like I said, we had a few issues yesterday, and I had some work I had to make sure I got done yesterday too. And now it's time to head out of here. I believe, like I said, Kevin's show's coming up in about an hour. Black Bear News. Of course, Around the World with Dia and Friends is tonight, as usual, I think around 9 p.m. Eastern. A 13,000-year-old White Castle. A White Katie Satan is still good. A White Castle Satan. White Castle. Yeah. So and I think Willie might have a show tonight too. I'm not sure, but make sure you're checking them out and check out all our pals here in the corner there that we like to promote here. We like to help our buddies in the space that maybe have smaller subscriptions numbers. Help them be heard and be seen and spread their information as well. So, okay, that's it for me. I will see y'all Friday morning during 10 a.m. Central, 9 a.m. Mountain, 8 a.m. Pacific time on YouTube, Rockfin, Rumble, and Facebook. Love each and every one of you. I appreciate your support and love, even if you're just watching this casually while you're taking a shit, or, if you're getting your car fixed and you're watching this to kill time. Hey, I'm here to help in any fashion that I can help you. So, love you guys. We'll see you Friday. Peace.
This is City Alpha 5. Woo!